Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the first of the Talon Super Series racing action for scheduled to be this round. Of course, yesterday, the GT3, GTM, and GT4s did manage to get race number 6 from their category for the season done, to catch up from a month ago when they first rolled out here and encountered some monsoonal weather on the Sunday of racing action for Sepang number 1. Now back for Sepang number 2, and racing action ready to come to us in a few moments for GTC racing action for their race 5 of the 2024 season. And you can see the cars rolling out on track at the moment. And the big news, Dan, in the time that we've been away, we were saying that it was threatening to rain. Well, that did eventuate, and we're going to start with a wet to dry track. And that's what you can see on the start-finish straight.
Yeah, we can there indeed. The sort of preferred racing line has dried up a decent amount, it seems, but off to the left-hand side of the circuit, that's certainly looking a little bit more spotty, and they'll cross over it on their way towards turn 1, you would think, as well. As we're getting ready and just seeing some of our GTC cars head out of the pits, we do now have ourselves a starting grid for this one here today. It would appear that, unfortunately, we are only going to have 5 cars out of the 6, Scott, that we were hoping to see in TSS Supercar GTC. It would appear issues for Manak Kulapalanot and the number 37 Toyota Supra from the Toyota Gazoo Racing Thailand stables means that car will not be taking part in any of the action today. But all 5 drivers were out in qualifying. 4 drivers were out in qualifying. Plus, Chemya Dulmaz is listed as being on the grid, so hopefully we'll see him there as well.
And you can see the GTC pole. They're all getting sorted towards the tail end of the field now, and everyone's slowly bringing themselves in. I can tell you rain is still in and around the Kuala Lumpur area at the moment, still away to the northeast at the moment, moving further north. So it does look like that the rain has now come on through, and we've seen the last of that one for today. So should be relatively dry. As for tomorrow, who knows, anything could happen in this region of the world, and quite often does as well. So in terms of our starting grid, it's going to be, like you said, the 5 cars that we've got here. Karapong is going to be out of pole position from Damien Hamilton, Manuel Rafael Caceres, Manuel Caceres, and Chemya Dulmaz is going to be the 5-car grid that we're going to be seeing for this one. And 10 laps the racing duration for the GTC category as well. In terms of the season, they've had a reasonably quiet season. The GTR was actually doing quite well back at Chang earlier on in the year before it suffered some failures, unfortunately. So it'll be looking to continue a stronger back end of the season. There's been quite a number of failures up and down the field as well.
Yeah, there has. Unfortunately, it was the opening weekend at Chang that was particularly rough. Chemya Dulmaz's number 35 car didn't finish that race. Had Manuel Rafael Caceres' Nissan GTR didn't even start that race. But also race 2 of that weekend, Manak Kulapalanot in the 37, which doesn't appear to be starting today, along with Siramet, who's for Daytona Coupe. Unfortunately, we aren't seeing here this weekend. Both disqualified from that one, in addition to a DNS for Chemya Dulmaz and a DNF for Manuel Rafael Caceres. So it's been... Bankseeing was better last time these cars were out racing, Scott, that's for sure. But a big track like this where speed, braking, and car capability is certainly going to be tested. Might be another track where, even with a small starting grid, we might be having to keep our eye out, to say the least.
How about the shots from the track over today, earlier on in the week, and then also the previous time that we came to Sepang as well? The shots of our GT3 and GT4 field in the background as well, and the GTM's in the middle. And the racing action's been thick and fast, and you're going to see the Supercar GT classes on track not too long after these guys finish their the GTC category finishes their racing action for the day. So it'll be an hour plus 1 lap for that one. 10 laps to come our way, courtesy of GTC racing action. And at the moment, just getting ourselves all nice and warmed up and ready for the card that's coming our way. So in terms of things this afternoon, we're expecting a bit of a 20-minute break in between the 2 races as well. scheduled to get underway here for this race in about 4 or 5 minutes. So they will just take off from the start line in the near future. Is that the Lamborghini Gallardo I can see just being wheeled around at the back end of the grid, the back end of that shot there, Dan?
I believe you are right with that observation, Scott. It's white, it's a coupe, and that sort of matches up with the shape of a Lamborghini to boot as well. So yeah, hopefully that's all good, being rolled out manually rather than doing the sighting lap from the pits to the starting grid, because that would be not ideal, to say the least, if we had some more issues there. But as far as I can tell, that's going okay, and we'll be all set there in a second. And yeah, it'll be a 10-lap race. I'll get underway in just a handful of minutes. 2, 3 is the plan, as we'll get this GTC race off and underway, and therefore get back or stay on the schedule, which we were at one point threatening to be a little bit out of kilter, but so far looking good there for these GTC categories to get their racing action in as planned.
Our usual general consensus of fans tuning in as well, along at home. How are you guys enjoying the weekend's coverage thus far? As Thailand Super Series gets set for its second of 2 away rounds for the year. But you can see the grid starting to all get sorted. You can hear the blowers in the background as well, as everyone trying to stay nice and cool down on the starting grid. Toyota Supra getting set to get away from pole position alongside the Trans Am. Unique combination of cars, these ones as well. Trans Am's exceptionally quick in a straight line. And Damien Hamilton was able to hang on for that race win in the Trans Am, even though the tyres started to go away from him back at Bang San. So he has been able to take away a race away from the Supras, assisted a little bit by the street course nature. But he's been slowly growing in confidence as the season's gone on and improving his position, certainly. Which you'll take. Track map here for the 5.5 kilometers of the Sepang International Circuit. Played host to Formula One in one of the most famous Australian races, certainly of recent note, in the Multi-21 saga. The 15 turns of Sepang International Circuit, overtaking opportunities just about right the way around. Indeed, we saw an incident last year in GT3 racing action down at turn 5 and turn 6. So just about right the way around this track. You can certainly go too wide. Flip back at 1 and 2 as well. Always worth a shout.
Yeah, that you can indeed. We had a small update from race control with formation start will be a little bit slightly delayed at this time before we get underway. So we'll be about 5 minutes now until we see the formation lap begin. So a bit more time here to sort of have a look at how everyone is settling in here and getting ready to go racing. The main thing I think is going to be today, well, actually, just before we go to that, as we have up here on screen, a reminder that Hankook, the official tyre of the Super Series by B-Quik, and as we are currently in dry weather conditions, it will be the Ventus F200 full slick tyre that our drivers here will be racing on, although the Ventus Z207 circuit wet tyres will be on hand should the conditions arise by the looks of things, and we'll hopefully have some dry racing. But at the same time, a bit of wet weather, which we haven't had a huge amount of this year, Scott, would certainly make for a bit of an interesting race, to say the least.
Just not as much as a month ago.
Yes, very much so.
You can see Karapong's all eyes forward, so he's at least switched on as well. I'm wondering whether or not the reason that we might have seen that Lamborghini being wheeled from right-hand side of the grid to left might have been because he was just out of order on the grid, although we're just hearing that we may have actually lost Chemya Dolmaz, so it might actually be only a 4-car grid, unfortunately for this one. Damien Hamilton's number 88 car, complete with Esky in the co-driver's chair. Wonder if he's got a cold beverage on hand.
Well, good spot there, but I get the feeling that might be more so that those actually, will that race suit have a cool suit layer underneath? Perhaps
Potentially.
that would be more probable use of an ice box in the passenger seat, or as you said in D-Ball, we would often call an esky. So Damien Hamilton there, and a chance to say hello there from his left-hand drive cockpit seat there. As further down the order, Manuel Rafael Caceres, they're getting ready to go racing in the Nissan GTR R35. See what he can do there from third place on the grid. As possible, he could go with the top two, but the field spread in qualifying was fairly reasonable. So at the same time, it does sort of suggest that for this one here, probably will fan out pretty quickly here today. Manasseh Manuel Caceres in this Lamborghini Gallardo Super Trofeo from 2010. Now we'll see what he can do in this car here. And then in fifth and final place, we hope, although I don't see on the grid, so it might be a case of, it's going to be a 4-car field for this one here today, Scott. So unfortunately, here we are down 2 cars from what the entry list says. And bring up timing. Yeah, it does still have Chimmy Dormez on timing, but no sign of him there on the circuit, unfortunately.
Yep, so just keeping an eye out through that one, and I'll just keep a little bit of an update on that one. I reckon Damien Hamilton's got a few EST colas in that esky. I don't think it's cool suit. I think he's got a few mid-race beverages for sure. Series sponsor EST Cola on board. So that will at least keep him nice and cool and settled. Come on, Dan, you gotta have fun with it. You gotta have fun with it.
Okay. So important question then. Important question coming up in that case. If we do accept that it might be some EST Cola aboard the 88 machine, how flat's it going to be, or how violently shaken is it going to be by the end of this race?
Well, you see, smoother is faster, so I'm going to say they're nice and smooth. They're not shaken at all.
And also definitely not stirred, because they'll be in bottles or cans, right?
Reading my mind, Dan. Reading my mind. See, you're having fun with it.
I know when to get it sorted up. And there's a question in the background. Question from producer Jay Kennedy, who's here with us. How's Damien going to get the straw into the can while driving? Look, that one.
It's piped in. It's piped into the esky.
Yeah, no, that checks out. Yeah, okay. Just going to have some kind of system inside the esky then if he finishes off a whole can to start off the next one.
No. So the simple solution is you have just like a 6-bottle top, and then you have pipes going to all 6, and you pull from all 6 at the same time, or perhaps a system whereby when there's no pressure on the first bottle, it pulls from the second bottle. That's doable. And just pipe it to a drink button on the steering wheel. Job done.
Okay. Yeah, fair. So long as there's not different flavors, unless Damien's a fan of going multi-flavor, that would be a bit of a wild one there in terms of mixing it up. So not long now until we'll see the cars pull away for this formation lap. So 10 laps on the board based on the times in qualifying. That should take us about 24, 25 minutes or so to run this race to its conclusion. So not a lot of spare margin in case of a safety car. So they will pull away now. And a little bit of wheel spin there from the 95 of Manuel Rafael Caceres, but gets in order soon enough. So let's see here. Clearly no issues with driving down the left-hand side of the start-finish straight here, Scott, despite the implication of that being a slightly damper patch of the circuit. So happy to go through there whilst they start warming up the Hankook tyres. Get ready for this TSS Supercar GTC race here at Sepang, race 5 of the championship.
And as we continue to do just about each and every round, it might be a smaller class. It gives us the opportunity to celebrate some unique cars. I mean, the benefit being all 4 cars in this, even though it is now a 4-car grid, they're all unique across the category, aren't they? So confirmation of your grid and qualifying results at Karapong for Toyota Gazoo Racing Team Talon will start on your poll-off alongside Damien Hamilton's Corliss Racing Engineering Trans Am Mustang out of P number 2. And I did have the qualifying results, which I've now just dropped off. Will be from Manuel Rafael Caceres, will be out of P3, and Manasseh Manuel Caceres out of P4 as well.
And indeed, as you said, it's going to be a very interesting one here. So, also having a look through like the standing sheets as well for this category, it's quite interesting because you have things like the overall classification here. So it has a Karapong out in front on 67 points, 20 ahead of Damien Hamilton on 47, with Manat Kulapala in the 37 not taking part in this race today. That'll mean that he at best will stay third. But for Manasa Manuel Caceres, possibility actually to come very close. Well, if he could snatch, sorry, he'll actually tie up on points if he comes home third, where he starts today in that 95 Nissan. Actually, no, I'm getting that around the wrong way. I am. My apologies. The 50 is the Lamborghini of Manasa Manuel Caceres. The 95 is Manuel Rafael Caceres. So actually, Manasa, should come home here in fourth place based on qualifying results. So that would mean coming within touching distance at the 37 for the championship. And Manuel Alvarez is in a chance to jump up close to Chemi Dulmaz on championship. There's also like the GTC takes out the Trans Am cars as one way you can score it. There's also non-homologated championship standings, which is for Akarapong, Manat, and Manuel Rafael Caceres, which is actually a little fascinating to hear it described that way. So a bit of insight there as to the history of the Toyota Supras and that Nissan GTR a little bit there by implication.
All right, they're starting to get themselves all formed up. That safety car is going to pull away from in front of the field here in just a few moments. And then we're going to be green flag racing for 10 racing laps for your Thailand Super Series GTC racing category. As they're going to come around the final corner. But inside for turn number 1 is going to be driver's right, which is why Damien Hamilton's a little bit closer on the left-hand side, and indeed was slightly ahead as they entered the final corner. Red lights are on at the front end of the field. Here we go, racing for Thailand Super Series GTC racing category, and initially the good jump here from the Nissan GTR. He's going to try and pull down the inside, covered off by the 38 machine, and Damien Hamilton takes the opportunity to go right around the outside of them both, back down the inside, down the Toyota Supra, as he's going to try and pick that one up. Hamilton a little bit wide on the entry to one, nearly an opportunity presented for the 95 machine. And they all managed to settle down through the complex at turn 2. And then on for the remainder of the lap now, as you'll see the Trans Am attempt to wind up all the horses at its disposal. Makes some time. Relatively steady from lap 1, but it was interesting to see Hamilton go right out and around the outside. You just got the feeling that maybe if he was on the right-hand side of the road, he would have got the opportunity to grab the lead and sort of get down the inside, potentially take that one away, and would have forced a Karapong to come after him. Run down to turn 7. Immediately into turn 8, down the back straightaway. Now down the middle straightaway of the lap as well. One of the better overtaking opportunities on the run down here into turn 9 that we'll see a little bit later in the GT classes. And indeed, just offline, Dan, just noticing a lot of little damp patches. They're not big, and they're not all that far away from the racing line, but they do exist in a couple spots.
Yeah, that will be important to keep an eye on if drivers are getting to a point where they're pushing a bit too hard, either in this race or probably more likely we'll see it in the TSS Supercar GT3, GTM, GT4 race later on to conclude today's racing action from Sepang International Circuit. So around turn 14 past the Southern Pit Complex, the race leader will go there. And looking pretty handily out in front, it seems, as there you go, top 3 still in shot together as they run there towards the final turn on the opening lap. And just there in the background, we'll see the number 50 Lamborghini of Manasa Manuel Caceres. Just as I said, based on qualifying, not quite competitive at this stage. And so we'll be running a race all by himself, it seems. So let's see here. Gap there of about, across the line, it's 1.8 seconds, I can tell you to be precise, between Akarapong and Damien Hamilton. I'll have to see here what this timing marker looks like when they get to, the next lap around. Based on what I can see here from timing sectors on this opening lap, depending on the sector, it's between 0.2 to 0.6 advantage the Supra until you get to the end of the lap, where it's mostly straights. And that Trans Am V8 can really stretch his legs. And Damien's not afraid to put the boot in.
Just worried about Damien's tyres as well, just making sure that he does hang on to them, because there is a potential for the Trans Am to drop away a little bit. Drop back into the clutches of the CNC Motorsports KS Racing. 95 of Manuel Rafael Caceres, so definitely does have to look after the tyres. Be kinder to the car. Maybe being a little bit more gentle in the opening couple of laps. You can see the big KS Racing logo on the rear end of the 95 machine. Hamilton's managing to go with a Carapong here. Sector times are relatively close together, so he is actually starting to find just a little bit of time as well. Won't get a gap update until the tail end of the lap, but managing to stay relatively close. It is opening up, but not as much as it was in qualifying. So Hamilton's starting to find some confidence level in that 88 machine.
I mean, yeah, I'm looking here, we've got 4 sectors on this track, and in the first sector, it was basically a dead heat, slight favour to Hamilton. Sectors 2 and 3 only lost about, at most, 0.3 per sector. So it does suggest that if Damien can just stay about there, this fourth and final sector here, which is practically, it's turns 13, 14, and 15, I believe, based on what we've seen with the timing intermediates, although I've actually seen a few more intermediate markers on my track map from the timing and scoring software. But if I remember right, it was timing sector 1 in qualifying was turn 3. Second sector mark beam was at between turn 6 and 7. The third sector beam was after turn 12. And then the final sector, of course, is the run to the start finish line. In that final, that run to the flag, looks like on that particular lap, Hamilton a little wide. I think I saw through turn 14 as well to boot. Ended up dropping to 2.8 seconds. Unfortunately there. So 2:19.4 plays at 2:20.4 on that second lap, and first full flying lap of the races. There is Manasseh Manuel Caceres bringing it around to complete his second lap of the race. And just winding back in the power for that Lamborghini V10 that we haven't had a chance to hear all too well at some of the other ends. And you can see here, gap for him, unfortunately, 42 seconds off the race lead. Currently doing a 2:40.2 versus a 2:19.4 for your race leader.
So worth noting here, Dan, I'm just taking a look at qualifying time. So the pole position time was a 2:16.8, whereas the most recent lap time for Carapong was a 2:19.4. So they've actually fallen off 2.5 seconds. That's what the rain has effectively taken away out of the circuit in terms of the overall grip. And Damien Hamilton's a fair bit closer than that to his time. So in terms of qualifying, so his lap was 2:18.9, he's just run a 2:20.4, so relatively close together in terms of those times, but he certainly closed that one down a little bit more, which again suggests the confidence level coming back. Manuel was also just in the 2:20s, so he's about 1.5 seconds off his previous bests as well, so definitely looks like either a Carapong's looking after the car at the moment, just making sure that he doesn't take too much out of the tyres at this point in time. Whether he is indeed pressing on, and then there's a little bit of discoloration around those exhausts as well towards the front end of the car. So there was one of the super compacts, I believe, that we were seeing a fair bit of that from the Chang International Circuit. We were worried that it may have been burning a little bit of oil and potentially might expire at the back end of that race, and hung on quite nicely, but certainly something Toyota Gazoo Racing Team Thailand will be keeping an eye on.
.218.9 from your race leader in a Carapong, at a 2:20.6 last time around for Damien Hamilton. He's actually already sort of hit, well, hasn't plateaued yet, but sort of hasn't gone faster, whereas the Carapong is continuing to pick up the pace, it seems, in your race leading car. So maybe a case of, I think, yeah, given even if it is only a 10-lap sprint around here, it would suggest perhaps that for a Carapong, just bringing the car in, finding the grip limit steadily, gradually. Although fastest first sector of the race goes to Hamilton once again. So the Trans Am Mustang here on screen does have, again, good grunt. but it seems to be able to pull it up nicely enough for turns 1, 2, and 3 that he's not losing. In fact, he's not. He's actually he is faster than a Karapong in the Supra. But we then start getting a bit more braking, a bit more mid-speed turns, and second sector, which is just Karapong's just crossed through here, goes to a 30.6 versus a 31.5 for Hamilton, who's just in behind him. So it just shows you how the pendulum swings around a track like this, and where the strengths of each of these cars is really showing.
Yeah. Certainly the differences between the cars as well. Again, shot out the exhaust pipe there. A little bit of fire from Manuel and the Nissan GTR. Certainly not the stock rear wing that you'd see on one of these cars either. Definitely more upgraded towards a racing spec. And brake ducts in the front splitter as well. It's quite well looked after and brought to racing spec package. And I don't know if you remember this, Dan, but it's certainly something that sticks out in recent memory was seeing the hood of this car flapping about quite a lot back at Chang earlier in the year.
Unfortunately, that one escapes my memory there, Scott, so I'll have to go back and review that one, I think, to catch back up on that bit of history.
But yeah, whatever the problem was, that was shortly before that car expired on that day as well, so they had engine issues, and certainly a lot more stable this time. Not leaking air in underneath that hood at this point in time.
Yeah, very true indeed. So, gaps are still growing a little bit here for Karapong, continuing to press on, although only improved by about a tenth of a second, I think it was, to a 2:18.8. Damian Hamilton did improve slightly as well, but to a 2:20.3. So again, gap increasing at the front still. Manasseh Manuel Caceres is unfortunately in a race completely of his own making here, and actually at this rate, we are 6 laps ago when the leader last crossed the line. He is potentially on track to get lapped here if he can't find a little bit more pace in that Gallardo, because currently losing over 20 seconds a lap to your race leader. You run the numbers, you only need in that case 6 laps to start coming within range of actually it would take 7 laps or so to be lapped at the current pace. So that gives you a heads up that we are potentially only 2 or 3 laps away from seeing that Lamborghini go a lap down here on your race leader as he continues round through turns 13 and 14 on this current lap. Just having a look at the times, actually has lost a bit of time in the opening sector once again, but no, pulls that time back in sectors 2 and 3 to make sure that we are going to see this car extend its lead a little bit more if all goes to plan down here at turn 15, Scott.
Was watching him with a little bit of instability in the brakes on the run down to turn 13. So not all his own way. Certainly some work to be done into the final sector. But the run out of the final turn. Again, still staying relevant, Damian Hamilton is the big key. It's another 6-second wait. Back to Manuel Rafael Caceres. Although just having a look, he's had a very, very slow second and third sector. Sorry, my apologies. Third and fourth sector for Manuel Rafael Caceres. He's dropped about 2 seconds in both of those sectors on that lap and ran a 2:24. So he's lost 5 seconds. Now, fastest car on that lap, though, Damian Hamilton doing a really, really good job. Setting his new PB for the race, 2:19.413. So he is continuing to find a little bit of time.
Yeah, that will be important to keep an eye on. Gained most of his advantage on a Karapong in Sector 1. And on this current lap has gained back another 10th and a half. As we're going to have a replay here close up of the 95. That's going through turn 1, I think, as it is going. Look at that there. Full of flames on the exhaust there on the left-hand side of the car. Don't think there's anything too untoward with that one there, Scott, although it was definitely quite the the flame coming out the pipe there.
Just a show for the fans, really.
Well, that'd be nice. As back to live pitches and back to your race leader we go here, already through turn 9 and 10 on this start of the second half of the race. Obviously, 5 laps down, 5 laps to go. And looking to see if he can hang on to a race lead. Has extended the lead, it seems, once again in the second sector. And we'll see here at sector 3. Yeah, it looks like actually that gap has gone up again, 0.6 gained in the middle of the lap here. So really the Supra showing it's got the agility to keep itself pointing, not just the right direction, but extending its margins. There's Damien in the background now starting to sort of fade out of shot. We really have to zoom back, it feels like now, to start seeing him in the same picture. But lights are on, and clearly it would appear he will not rest until this race is done. It's down to the final turn once more. Here he comes. And allow that V8 to stretch its legs down the straights between turns 14, 15, and then, of course, turn 1.
I think worthwhile noting as well, with lights starting to come on and all, 6:30 p.m., just after 6:30 p.m. local time in Malaysia as well. So by the time we get done with our Supercar GT program, it is going to be rather late. But meantime, runs a 2:19.855. So it's definitely the mistake from Karapong on lap number 5 on his run down through the end of the third sector. I thought I spotted a little bit of braking issues for him, and that looks like that's what cost him the lap time. Just see the lights just starting to come away from the circuit as well. And the problem they'll have is all the way down the front straight away, they will be looking nearly due west, so into that setting sun. So picking up the braking marker down at turn 1 is not going to be the easiest prospect.
Good point to note there, actually, yeah, because several parts of this track, run out of turn 8. This little blast here will then be very much into the sun as well, and it's a tight hairpin of sorts here at turn 9. So trying to make sure you hit your marks to get the most out of this part of the circuit is going to be important. And then by the time you start swinging around here through turn 11, you sort of drive into it again through the apex. You then come off at a moment for this runs to turn 12, but then same thing. This is even at mid to high speed for these kinds of cars, and then you're right back in it through here before you then try and swing back to the right to turn yourself away from the sun for the run through from turn 14 back to 15. So yeah, it's a good point to note there, and it'll obviously only get more important as that GT3, GTM, GT4 racing starts. As a question of, if we look at the front splitter, is there something on that car, or is that just sunlight? I think that might be sunlight. I'm not seeing anything untoward from this particular angle that we're looking at right here.
No, I think, it might have just been the light. There was sort of some glare at one point. But Hamilton's sectors have been better again this lap, so he is starting to find that confidence. Best second and third sector times for him, still not matching that of Akarapong through those sectors, but he's certainly closing it back up again. And comes to the start-finish line, the lap's going to be better. So again, another time now where he's actually been the faster car out on track, 2:19.330. Plays the 2:19.631. The problem being the margin now out to 6 seconds, and that is the number 50 Lamborghini Gallardo. Who they'll have to navigate on this lap.
All right, there you go, 7 bit laps done. Unfortunately for Manassa Monocaceres, that will be, a continuing sort of 20 plus seconds. He's down on pace. Shows its mark. We'll see here if this affects Damien Hamilton much, because it felt like for Akarapong, he caught him in a pretty convenient spot, all things considered. And as we look to the background, Hamilton through before turn 8, so that should hopefully have worked out okay for him. But I guess the sector timings will tell us. And looking at it again, strong sector 1, pulling back over 0.4 of a second on the 38 machine here, but then losing over half a second between turns 3 and, well, almost 7. So that does suggest a bit there. And again, yeah, continuing ebb and flow of this race will suggest that unless the 38 really slows down all of a sudden, this margin that's been built up in the first couple of laps is going to be more than satisfactory for the 38 machine to bring it home from here at this rate.
It does bode well for tomorrow. This is what I'm sort of sitting down and going, okay, yep, there's an opportunity for Damien to do something tomorrow, and I think he should be proud of the continued improvement that he's been making as well as this one's gone on, because normally the Trans Am's not doing his best laps at this point in time. Could that be a touch of rubber being laid down? Probably not enough out there to really do that. Maybe the track drying a little bit more. Certainly improving the lap times as the session goes on.
Could be a combination of things, I think, when you think about it. Maybe a little bit of rubbering in, but maybe more a case of just managing tyre temperatures and also just confidence and understanding where the grip limit, yeah, sorry, there's a word there that I wanted to say, is. As actually on that last lap, once again, actually did pull another 10.5, sorry, on Akarapong. So the gap's still holding at 6 seconds between your top two as they start their 9th lap out of 10 for this race. As focusing in here on Manassa Manuel Caceres for a second. Unfortunately, the lap times don't speak too well for him at that moment because of having to let the leaders go. It drops to a 2-minute 49. See here, though, it is good to see it might not be as confident in the car and the track, perhaps. A little hard to say without knowing more about him, the driver, in particular detail, but still able to get out there, get racing, and do something the guys there clearly enjoy doing. And not be a problem in terms of despite being off the pace.
Just keeping an eye on what's going on for Manuel, because his lap time has dropped off suddenly and quite severely as well. 2 laps in a row now has done a 2:35. So do have to keep half an eye on what's going on with him. Whether or not there might be an issue with that car. And again, 2 seconds off as he goes through the first sector. So some sort of drama for him, unfortunately.
Well, hopefully, indeed, then he can make it home to the end, despite it not being all too far left to go in this one. He's currently up around turns 5 and 6 as your leaders. Apologies for the feeder being as they're approaching turn 15 once again for comparison. So should still be on the lead lap, all things considered. But yeah, just hopefully, as you said, is a clear sign something's not quite up to speed in that car there. As he's heading down towards turn 9. But there we are. Race leader coming back off of the final turn. Final lap board is out at the start-finish line. And that is now a quite golden look on these cars here as they make their way up towards turn 1 for the final time today in TSS Supercar GTC.
And again, more flame out the pipes as well as he cuts his way down through turn 1. Looking quite comfortable. Still stretched the margin by about another 0.4 of a second on that most recent lap as well. So nice and calm now for him. 6.5 seconds. And under control on the rundown through to turn 5.
Yep, gives up another 0.2 to Damien Hamilton as we actually are going to get another look at that one there. Looks like checking out there the exhaust flames is the name of the game there. And yeah, it's a solid bit of burn, crackle, pop there, running out the pipe at the end of the braking zone. Through turn 7 and 8, Karapong will come through. And once again, lost a bit of time in Sector 1, but gains it all back and some more in Sector 2. So still running this one nice and steady gap at 6.4, nearly 6.5 seconds back at the start-finish line based on the way the margins are going so far on this battle will have increased ever so slightly there as well. But certainly, yeah, as you said, no mean feat for Damien Hamilton. Kept him somewhat honest there. And if he'd been able to get a little bit more confident under brakes, perhaps, down into turn 1, could have potentially led the field for the first little part of this one there. Unfortunately, the inside was wide open for your pole sitter to go straight back up the inside. And so to prevent that one from being a possibility there, it seems, does gain back some time on this particular lap through Sector 3. So that's a little interesting note there to consider. But that might just be a Karapong knowing that he's got no rush, can just bring it back as he wants and ease it in to the final part of the lap. So just the one turn left to go, Scott. And a fairly short run to the start-finish line. Karapong will bring home from the pole position, lights the flag for Toyota Gazoo Racing Thailand. Another win here in TSS Supercar GTC, as he will take that one quite happily from Damien Hamilton, who will take home second place today in that Trans Am Mustang for Ford CRE Lanatech Liquid Moly Racing.
Yeah, phenomenal racing result yet again for Karapong. We'll take the line honours now. We begin the wait for our Nissan GTR and Lamborghini Gallardo. I believe actually Manus says not too far away from crossing that start-finish line. But race winner from race number 5 on screen at the moment for Toyota Gazoo Racing Team Thailand, and control of this championship for a fair while now, and looks just about set to lock it in.
Yeah, he sure will indeed. Another 20 points go his way, and being the start of the second half of the season will be all sorted soon enough as Manuel Rafael Caceres comes around. Well, turn 14 will be approaching the final turn now, as Manuel Caceres will take fourth place, there, to finish the lap down on the other 3 in the class here today. And the Nissan GTR, hopefully not limping per se, but definitely having backed off big time to the end, will make it to the line and be classified a minute 23 behind your race leader with a 2-minute 30 final laps here. Still that big drop off in pace towards the end. You hope that's not the sign of something that'll come up again tomorrow, but could easily be. But back to your race leader, we look at the footage. With everyone done, the race results are complete for now, and hopefully get the results screen up and head to the highlights in due course. In this case, Scott, I guess in a sense, not a lot of on-track action today. It was more a case of sort of seeing if, looking at the micro details as to how the cars were driving around here today to see how things were going this evening for these Supercar GTC machines, and setting the stage, of course, for tomorrow's race to wrap up the weekend for them.
Yeah, and eclectic group of cars, I think, is always the best way to sit down and have a look at them as well. And as he comes around the final corner, peels into the pit lane, and that's what the sunshine looks like looking on the run down into turn 1 out of that final corner as well. Worthwhile noting as we're heading into our GT3, GTM and GT4 racing action. That sun is going to dip just a little bit more, so it's not going to stay that nice and clean. Race winner makes it back to the lane now as well. And the rest of the field will make their way down on in as well.
That they will indeed. And on go the air blowers to make sure those cars are kept adequately cool, which will be important to say the least in these temperatures, even if it is getting a little later in the day in Malaysia, which might help a little bit compared to what we sometimes see when they're racing in the mid-afternoon or shortly after lunch. Might be a bit of a different situation, but nevertheless, I'm sure it's still plenty warm at the Sepang circuit as we speak, as Damien Hamilton able to bring around that Ford Mustang to the second place position. And yeah, according to what I can find briefly, current temperature is around 31 degrees Celsius, or for those running Fahrenheit and used to that, that run comes out at 87 degrees Fahrenheit currently. And that's considered somewhat of a low, actually, pardon me, I'm looking at forecasting going forward from here. It'll only drop about 5 degrees Celsius overnight before back up to 30 degrees again tomorrow, apparently, from what I can see from a brief look at things.
I mean, warm part of the world, right on and about the tropics as well. So always going to be hot to race in and around these sorts of regions. And podium's now fed back in to the background of this shot. Damien Hamilton, you saw him climb out of his car and accept P2 as well. And Manuel, although there was no smoke really coming from that car, so everything does look reasonably okay for the 95 machine. Doesn't sound like anything's massively broken from that car, but I'm sure there'll be some work. We'll go on with it just about straight away. As he'll climb from the seat of the car to accept P3. And that's your race results from the GTC category, ladies and gents. We're now being updated as well in terms of pit lane opening as well. We were just getting an update on that one. Formation lap was, sorry, that was the previous race, was due for 6:15 local time. So in about
15
or so minutes, we're going to see pit lane exit opening for GT3, GTM and GT4 racing action. So we'll have that for you, ladies and gents, coming up in the very near future. We'll be back in just a few moments, about 10-15 minutes, to bring you all the action from our supercar categories as we go racing for race number 7 from Talent Super Series from Sepang.
A warm welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see now, it is almost time for our TSS Supercar GT3, GTM, and GT4 fields to get underway here this evening. My name's Danny Yeaman. I'll be joined by Scott Rankin shortly on behalf of speedcafe.com for the English broadcast here of the B-Quik Thailand Super Series for 2024. And for the first time this year so far, if I remember correctly, we are going to be seeing these drivers out on track with the headlights on. It is indeed just after 7 o'clock local time at Sepang International Circuit, or I should say Petronas Sepang International Circuit in Malaysia, which means it is not quite dark yet there, but it is certainly on its way. So having to keep an eye out on things, and hopefully we'll be able to see the racing action all the way through to the very end. Given it will be a 60-minute race as usual, plus another lap. The fast lane is currently open for our GT3 cars to make their way down to pit exit and hold for a moment before they will be released out onto the circuit. And in a couple of moments' time, we will see the rest of the GTM and then GT4 cars permitted to join them. And then the standard 5-minute window, Scott, for all cars and teams, if they don't queue up right now in the pit lane, to join them out on track for the sighting lap back to the pits. Well, sorry, to the grid. And then they'll hold, get ready for the formation and pre-race ceremonial bits and pieces before we get underway here tonight.
Yeah, you can see the fans and everyone walking down the pit lane and just enjoying festivities as well as a part of this one. So pit lane will be open here in a couple of minutes, and from there we're going to get everything underway. So just waiting on the pit lane to be open, then they'll start to feed out. There was a notice from race control as well, just to make sure that all drivers did have their headlights, all teams to have headlights out there, headlights working, as that sun starting to get lower and lower as we hit 7 p.m. and indeed coming up on 10 past 7 p.m. local time. You can see the lighting start to degrade. And we have had some afternoon evening racing from the Bang Seng Grand Prix for these guys previously. But I believe yesterday was the first time in a good while that they were racing in evening conditions, or at least on the track and doing nighttime based sessions. So that was from race number 6 of the season for GT3, GTM, GT4 yesterday afternoon. And race number 7 looks to be in similar fashion here this evening. Tomorrow the race will be a little bit earlier, won't be quite so late. Yeah, we'll be getting underway here with racing action as everyone starts to form up out onto the grid. At the moment, we'll have the short gridding procedure and then into the racing action for the first race of the weekend for the 3 categories combined. 1 hour plus 1 lap. And compensation times in terms of pit stops to be aware of as well here with this one, Dan.
Yes, of course. But let me go and grab that document for noting that one here today. So we have ourselves, I've just been reminded to go find it. I also have found the document here as well. So your minimum stop time for the drivers in Supercar GT3 and GTM is 85 seconds. So minute 25. And remember, that is from pit entry to pit exit. We then have ourselves various driver pairing compensation times. So I can tell you that if you're a new team, which in the case of the number 5 Audi from the stable of, HZO Fortis Racing Team by Absolute Racing, those guys, along with the EBM Aston Martin GT3 of Anderson Donato and Earl Bamber, they get 15 seconds out of it being new teams this weekend. And then you run through your pairing, your time gains go as follows. For any drivers with an FIA bronze and silver pairing, it's plus 27 seconds. For an FIA bronze and gold, it is 31 seconds. For FIA bronze and platinum, it is 32 seconds. And for there's 2 pairings of it I can see to the best of my knowledge. FIA silvers, 2 drivers are both silver rated. That is 46 seconds of compensation time added. So all of those, Then, of course, add on your top 3 from race 6 of the championship. So number 12 of PTB Bakti and Katasaka Siri. They've got an extra 15 seconds for winning that race, Scott. 10 seconds for Akash Nandi and Nesh Ampiris for coming second in that race. 5 seconds for Rohan, Huang and Lin Hao for finishing third. So to put it all in perspective, in GT3, minimum time is 85 seconds. That'll be observed by His Highness Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim and Douglas Koo in the 65 Viper Nizza Racing Mercedes. The maximum stop time I am seeing goes to Akash Nandi and Esham Piris. They will have to be in the pit lane for 141 seconds by comparison.
Yep, so an exceptionally long pit stop, and they'll be joined in the other upper echelons, though. There's 2 further pit stops above 130 seconds, which will be that of Sandy Stuvik Deng Yi with the silver pairing, and Anderson Donato El Bamba with that additional 15 seconds for being a new pairing as well, and then very closely behind by Piti Bhirombhakdi and Kantasak Kasiri after that race win. And they'll be forming up on the track in the background in just a few moments as everyone gets set for race number 7. GTM field again, 85 seconds plus compensation times and 145 seconds for our GT4s plus compensation times as well. So, very long stop for the GT4 category.
It is. The fact that these are the longest time when adding in class compensation and... what have you got for Scott? Oh, indeed. Pardon me. Literally just had the compensation document up. That is not a sign you like to see. One of our new entries for the weekend.
Was that 5? Yeah.
That was indeed the bright yellow number 5 of Hazik Sarai and Aaron Limsey June. The HZO Fortis Racing team by Absolute Racing Audi. Pulled over like that. That's not going anywhere anytime soon.
That's going to potentially extend the gridding procedure as well. So that's not the best that they're looking for them. I mean, theoretically, they might be able to get that one refired. Perhaps if it hasn't done too much damage, might have just been something trapped in and around one of the wheel wells or potentially in the grill. Get that car refired and get back out there. Talking about the tyres, though, it's an ongoing conversation about looking after your tyres, get the most out of them when you possibly can, but also make sure that you've got something left to fight with at the end. And they do have to balance their tyres between 2 qualifying sessions, 2 races, and practice sessions across the weekend as well. So not a simple equation for tyres.
No, it's not. We generally do see the teams they will do a tyre change with the drivers. In fact, there you go. There's a rack of tyres on hand. A mix of, I think I saw some slick and wet compound tyres there. So keeping them both on hand on the racks in case one is necessary at a moment's notice. Of course, they only have a 10-minute compulsory pit window. So anything, say, weather-wise that throws us for a loop, that'll be actually... it would be interesting if it was to happen, because that would mean we then get to see the teams. I do believe there aren't any should there had to be an additional stop for tyre changing outside the window. That would be interesting because that's then all about how well can your team change the tyres time-wise, rather than having to comply to what we normally see with the compulsory stop times and the compensation that is added in, which means they don't have to rush the stops in those compulsory ones.
Well, so a lot of activity down around the 62 car at this point in time. With Asham Pierre, Sakash, Nandi, I believe it'll be Nandi who'll start this car as well. Pole position from qualifying for race number 7. And it was the number 12 car who took pole position for tomorrow's race and race number 8 of the season. And you can just see the number of people milling about the grid because there's 27 cars that'll be out on track for the duration of this one, across the 3 different categories, which we'll be keeping an eye on that one. It's going to create a unique challenge that we've only seen once before. 11 GT3 cars across the Pro-Am and Am categories. There will be 7 GTMs and 9 further GT4s. All 3 of those categories split up into Pro and Am. Huang Rohan and Lin Hao came into the series a little bit earlier on in the season, and qualifying up towards the pointy end have been a racy entry, meaning that we have it 3 Audis from the front 3 spots on the grid. The first non-Audi entry for race number 7 is actually going to be the next car we'll be taking a look at, which will be the number 12 of Piti Biram Bhakti, who'll be starting the car for Kantasak Kasirio. Again, took pole for session race number 8 tomorrow, so that car will be extremely quick when they do the handover, but longest pit stop as well. A lot to work with, a lot to do for those guys. And I'm interested to see how Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim is going to go out of the Mercedes alongside of Douglas Koo as a new driver to the series as well. Good opportunity for him to get some laps set here in a Mercedes, and a good opportunity to go racing alongside of Douglas Koo as well.
Yeah, and a new addition to that car, having seen Douglas Koo race solo so far this year and last year as well. So how that changes the potential and pace of the other 65 will be curious to see indeed. So that runs at your top 5. Then you've got P6 for Anderson Tenoto to start starting alongside Earl Bamber, the EBM Aston Martin advantages that there on screen. By the way, Henk Kicks sharing the number 27 B-Quik Absolute Racing Audi with Marcus Winkelhock this weekend. So we're curious to see how they go about things. So yeah, how's that there for a sort of a show of the track lighting now very much essential to actually be able to see here tonight. This is going to be very much a night race with multi-class components to pay attention to here. So this is very different to what we've seen so far this year, that's for sure. We're hopefully about 5 minutes away. And just as I start saying that one, given the fact that we do indeed have, unfortunately, the number 5 Audi currently stuck around turn 11. We've been literally just advised, Scott. It will mean that we will be slightly delayed on the formation lap to make sure that car has been suitably retrieved by the recovery vehicles here at the circuit and brought back to the pit lane, I would presume, at this time.
Yeah, that's unfortunate with having to rescue that car as well. So a little bit of a delay, but at least it's happened now and not triggered a safety car in the opening laps, or potentially a delayed green as well. So an opportunity potentially for that car to get back around, but if they're extracting that car as well, that would basically say that unfortunately race number 7 for the number 5 Audi was due to start the last of the GT3 cars as well. So Haziq Zariel was to be off the back row of the GT3 grid, but yeah, that changes that one up just a little bit. I do like this color. It was good on an Aston Martin last year, but I think the colors actually suit the Mercedes just a fair bit better for the Viper Nizza Racing. Mercedes-Benz AMG GT3, like I was saying earlier in the piece. New car for Douglas Koo this year. Out of that Aston Martin Vantage last year and into the Mercedes. And Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim will start that car. And look at the tyres all arranged at the back end of the grid. That just tells you some of the thinking from a lot of the teams. Just make sure we got something on hand. There was a few tyre failures last round out at Chang 2 weeks ago for all the smaller category classes, but we believe that may have been debris related. So if it does come to blows here, and this is the Anderson Tenoto Albamba car, the new entry to the series. Second of the new entries, one of them not taking part. Unfortunately, with what we believe was a fire in the back half of the lap, but good to see an Aston Martin on the grid yet again, particularly that Evo 2 package as well.
A nice little shot there showing incoming passenger airplane to Kuala Lumpur International Airport. The airport actually being not too far away from the circuit. When I last checked the maps, in fact, actually looked like it was a little further away than I would have thought, because if I remember correctly, the circuit is quite close to the airport. But talk more about that another time. Is Chunhua Chen, actually you can see Kevin Chen above the driver's door there. So sharing the number 91 Team AAI BMW M4 GT3 with Jesse Cron. Once again this weekend, they'll be looking to improve on a P7 starting position. As I'm reminded, the airport is practically next door.
Yep.
Here at Sepang.
Benefit, you can fly in, fly out. It's right there. And the other benefit is that not a problem that a fair few Australian circuits do have is residential land starts to encroach. Well, you're not going to knock down an airport to throw up some housing estates. So that does secure the future realistically. The Sepang International Circuit no one wants to lose off the international calendar, and I'm strongly hoping the FIA do bring Formula One racing back to this track because it was always interesting.
Yeah, it is one of those things. It's a shame we've lost it from the calendars of late. Chance to see it racing here, completely different class of car, mind you, but nevertheless, very much still popular one by the looks of things. As we're being told, being told not too far from the 5-minute boards. Will be slightly behind schedule, unfortunately, but that's how it rolls sometimes. And also reminded, of course, that whilst it's no longer the home of the top flight of four-wheeled motorsport and has to settle for various local, regional, and international categories of other classes racing here, you do still have the MotoGP World Championship still racing here. So that's something to keep in mind. We'll see the best riders on two wheels on the asphalt, at least, Scott, making their way around here in due course.
Don't forget the Sepang 12-hour that was earlier in the year as well.
Good point there, indeed. Yeah, it's one of those things I never really thought about it for endurance racing. Was that sunglasses for?
Yeah, I used to have them in one of my road riding helmets, actually, for back when I used to partake in motorcycling. I do wonder if they're incorporated into the helmet, because you can get helmets whereby there's just a button that you press and there's sunglasses in the helmet that just flip down. But they might be inside the helmet for Betty Chen. The confirmation wet tires on both of those tire racks, so teams definitely just think it's there and they're thinking about it.
Yep, one set of slicks, one set of wets, just to cover the bases. It would seem, as we've been politely reminded that because I think we might have said Aston Martin Evo 2. Well, actually, no such thing exists. As a quick Google search reminds me, indeed, that we have one. This year's updated Aston Martin Vantage GT3 and also apparently GT4. I haven't seen it though myself. Is the first Evo specification for that car. But nevertheless, yeah, it's a striking look with all of the wheel arch flares and therefore used for aero and cooling, ducting, and the like. As the whistles are very much belongs. I believe we were just about right on the 5-minute to beginning of the formation lap. So indeed. It is time for fans and crew members to start departing the grid. With only the last couple of essential personnel standing by to tick things off with their drivers before they'll be told to vacate the grid and get their cars fired up, ready for the formation lap here.
Yet again, wandering back past the 62 machine. That will start off of pole position. A good lap from Akash Nandi to put this car on the pole. Was only a couple tenths away. Would have been good enough for top 5 position in the pro driver session as well. So it was just a quick lap all around, made the most of the conditions, set the lap nice and early, and got that car off the circuit, handed over tyres in reasonable condition to Ash and Pierres to go chase down a strong start from race number 8. And how good is seeing nearly a full grid worth of cars for the combined GT3, GTM, GT4? That is just a beautiful sight.
Yeah, we're used to seeing, say, a handful of the GT3s. The fact we've got 11 GT3s this weekend does speak to a strong appearance for just that class alone. But yeah, when you add on the GTM, the GT4 categories, arguably, this almost feels like the best way to do it. It means we get to see a full grid of cars. It means you've got that multi-class component of, 3 different levels of pace having to interact with each other here on circuit, as we are now inside of 3 minutes to the formation lap. So in about, it's at the 1 minute sign, drivers will be advised to start up the engines. So not too long away from the sounds reaching our ears, being a little more than just the ambience of the circuit here at Sepang for now.
And they'll stand by and get themselves ready for race number 7. I'm going to fire probably through the grid very, very quickly with 27 cars to get through. 3 classes in attendance here for this one. And it'll be crucial to keep our eyes on throughout the weekend. GT4 class leader is the 95 entry, who've just about been on the podium from... they've been on the podium from 3 of the 5 races thus far. And don't forget, race result from race number 6 was held yesterday, so it could even be 4 from 6 races as well. And they had, remember the race for GTM GT4 back at Bung Sen to open the weekend for these guys. Race number 3 of their calendar was actually shortened, and that meant that only half points were awarded. So they've had an interesting series, which combined with the GTM, half points awarded for that series as well. Means that it is a little bit of a mixed up points order. Natavude from the GTMs, as usual, has just been about untouchable at the front end of the GTM standings. Very, very quick to start the series off from Chang. 2 wins from 2 races. Righto, 1 minute warning now displayed from the front end of the grid. Everyone will fire off the grid, and we're going to get rolling here in just a few moments. And as darkness settles in Sepang, we are getting ready to roll away on our formation lap for race number 7 of the Thailand Super Series by B-Quik. Always get this is the stuff I look forward to every weekend. Racing action here down and moments away from rolling off on the grid.
Indeed, now the lights are ablaze. How about that there for trying to spot them from the front? That's going to be a little tough to spot the car at a distance. We're going to have to really appreciate them from a close-up angle or from a rear angle shot like this one here. So safety car pulls away, which is about the 15-second time before we will see these drivers start rolling away. And there you go, folks. It's time for our formation lap for TSS Supercar GT3, GTM, and GT4. Thanks to EST Kowa and Idemitsu alongside of B-Quik, getting this one underway here very shortly indeed. And then we'll start talking you through the grid. In fact, here they are on screen now. So Akash Nandi, Eshan Piris, your pole sitting car alongside Sandy Stuvik and Yi Deng. Wangor Hanlin Howe alongside Piti Bakti and Candice Akasiri in 4th. And Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim, Douglas Koo sharing 5th with Anderson Tenoto and Earl Bamba for 6th. Chunhua Chen, Jesse Cron 7th, Biron Bakti and Carlo Van Dam for 8th. Yinu Chen and Jasmine Jafar 9th. Henk Hicks, Winkelhock 10th. Hazik 11th along with Aaron Lim. And 12th, rounding out Scott, going to be Kita Pole, which is actually now moving into our GTM field there, as well as look here at the back half of the field now as well.
One Colin Kamik, Natavude out of 14th, Saiwai Simon Chan, Craig Corliss and Jalen Robotham, Chris Versaratna and Saravut going to round out your 18. Amra Harris, Jeffrey and Nakib Noor Aslan, Nanin Indra Puyong, Kazuhisa Urabe into our GT4 categories now. Vitakorn and Cantady out of 21st. Peter Hackett, Hayden Haikal, back to the back 3 rows of the grid as well. Sathapond and Owen DeSmit. Graham John Dowsett alongside of Anna Thorne and Sudapong and Grant Superfong. Going to round out our GT4 grid. 27 cars, only 26 will be taking the start. Already lost one number 5 machine from your GT3 racing action. Was due to start out of 11th spot with a issue on the siding lap to the grid, requiring fire extinguishers to be in attendance. That one's been removed from the back end of the field. Darkness descends in Sepang for the Thailand Super Series. 60 minutes plus 1 lap. And cars were dealing with significant amounts of water here a month ago, leading to race number 6 to be cancelled and rehosted this weekend. And just earlier today, those tricky weather conditions in Sepang kicked in yet again for one of the other categories that was here this weekend, and now we've been forced to resort to a little bit of catch-up for the Thailand Super Series categories, as we're going to get racing here just after 7:30 local time in the dark, which means tires will be cool, air will be relatively cool as well. Might be okay. They'll form up as they come out of turn number 14 here, run down the back straightaway. And then it'll be out of the final corner into turn 15, into the hands of the 62 machine of Akash Nandi, who will have control of the field. Sandy Stuvik will be off alongside of him, two teammates. And then it'll be Huang Rohan, the Chinese driver. And Pity Biron back to Uber for row number 2. Who's going to get the best getaway out of those cars? Who's going to feed off down into turn number 1? Safety car is going to pull away from the field here in just a few moments, as they all form up. Medical car is now in position. They've done well. 27 cars. As they feed in. I'm still waiting for that safety car to pull away from the front of the field. It's going to go now, I believe, as the fields start to spread. Gap between the classes as well. 3 classes in operation as a part of this one. And we are now just moments away from being released as a part of the racing action for Thailand Super Series. 60 minutes plus 1 lap. Get ready, ladies and gentlemen. Lights are on from the front of the field as they all form up. The lights are on in terms of all the cars, and they've been turned off as well. Race start on the run down at turn number 1. And it was a good getaway from the 62 machine, and I believe Stuvik's actually got a reasonable getaway as well, as he was trying to get back across to the right-hand side of the road, try and cover that one. And 27 car, sorry, it will be the 25 car. Huang Rohan was trying to feed down in there, 3 wide at the tail end of the field as they're trying to get themselves sorted out. Finally managed to do so, and they're still feeding on the run into turn number 1 as the GTM and GT4 fields as well. But in the meantime, Akash Nandi got the perfect start, got the perfect getaway. He's going to lead the field down into turn number 4 for the first time under the lights, as everyone tries to find a little bit of racing room. How about the start from the Aston Martin? Trying to cut their way back through the field. Started just behind the 65 AMG, and around goes the Aston. And that's in an awkward place, and we've got categories coming as well. Luckily, they've managed to keep that car to the inside and still rolling. Doesn't look like they've made contact with the tyre barrier, with the barriers, the Armco, on the left-hand side of the track. They will get out the other side, but it's going to be from the rear end of the field, and we'll keep our eyes just offline a little bit as he turned in there, Dan. Did he touch the wall? No, maybe. Maybe on the front left corner.
I think he got away with the barest skin of his teeth there, although you can see actually now, actually, that's definitely nudged in to the wall there, and looks like they have sent a car to try and recover that one there. As I think we've gone back to live once again, now up towards the front of the field as Akash Nandi in towards turn 14 here. And as we'll see here, do we keep this race green? Pardon me, where is that number 11 car, Gon Anderson, to note it already dropped down the bottom of the timing orders. They're in Sector 2, not with Sector 3 and 4. Can he get that car backed out and get that car going once again, or are we going to have the race neutralised to recover it, as your top 5 there come around turn 15? And you can see that running just wide enough to kick up a little bit of dust on the exit of said final corner. So Akash Nandi leads Sandy Stuvik. Huang Rohan's got Pity Piron Bhakti and Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim right in behind him here. So there's your top 5, lap 1 complete, and you'll see now the rest of the field come through and update their timing. You can see our GT3 spread, so 9 out of our 10 starters still running in GT3, 11 seconds at the end of lap 1.
Yeah, so fair bit of field spread as everyone's trying to feed themselves in. They all did well to dodge the Aston Martin as well. And we are going to get a safety car for this one, because that number 11 car still stuck in position. So they are absolutely going to be forced to call that safety car. They left it as long as they possibly could. They did not want this group of cars arriving at speed. And it was the same spot last year on lap number 1, albeit of the second race of the weekend, that immediately triggered a safety car. Have they already come through? Yeah, I didn't see the Aston. Yeah,
there it might be. There it is. I think literally they've picked it up under safety car conditions. I think. See if we can just get another angle looking forward from here, perhaps. No, it's them coming up. That's the leading cars. Just looking to see if can we spot it in this queue, or has it been because they called safety car in time for it to get ahead? perhaps before. Probably the headlights so bright now here under nighttime, you can't actually spot them here heads on. There it is. So I think that's no, it's in behind the top 5. Okay, so it is the trapped a lap down at the moment. So whether they'll be allowed to get a lap back, that'll be the next question now that we'll have to wait and see. Because I guess the reason for the safety car is now, well, moving once again. So will they basically do a 1-lap collection, release, and go again?
More than likely, yeah, because, I mean, we've only just gotten going racing, so the field's not majorly spread out, so they will be able to sort of collect them relatively quickly. There's a Nissan safety car still sitting down at the end of pit lane. So that's the run down the back straight away on the run to turn number 15. And, yeah, so he's going to be trapped in the middle of that one. So that's the green car that you can see in the back end of that shot's Jeffrey Ibrahim in the 65 entry. And they'll pick up the safety car as they come out of the final corner. Everyone doing their best to try and build and maintain a little bit of tire temperature, tire pressure. It's tricky conditions for a lot of these guys racing around under lights for the first time this weekend. Changes a lot of things. Grip levels, particularly cold tires, lap 1. Does change things quite significantly. And unfortunately, that's just caught out one of our new entries to the series who'll go to the rear. But the benefit is they are still out there, an opportunity to get some data collection going for these guys. I think that's going to be the big key that they'll be looking for tomorrow's racing.
Yep. Well, confirmation from race control coming through now as well. This is going to be a very short, very sharp thing because the safety car, well, is no longer required per se. It will be coming straight back in at the end of this lap. So just looking to see yeah, if that number 11 is going to be trapped a lap down still in this queue, or if they might be able to.
Actually.
Good point indeed. Yeah, his score is in the pit, so maybe they are going to check the car over, and so guaranteed it'll be staying a lap down at this stage. Hopefully, in there for their case, it won't. They can get that car out, but obviously with the whole field now coming up through turns 6 and 7. Going to have to move quick to get back on the queue, and should they be able to take the restart, not only will it be a lap down, they then got to also work their way through all of the GT4 and GTM traffic before even thinking about being in a position to start unlapping themselves. Up on the jacks, headlights still ablaze. Hopefully that's still a good thing here. Let's see if we won't get a chance to confirm that anymore for now, at least. Have to go off what we see on the timing displays. As I do see, it's just stopped saying it's in the pits. Well, it's starting to roll for pit exits, so that is potentially a good sign there indeed.
Yeah, and they were getting ready. They just checked over the front end of the car where there might have been a tiny little bit of contact in the front bumper, so they just checked it over. So it looked like everything was all okay, and they've managed to get rolling yet again. So that'll eliminate 8 minutes off of our race clock. And safety car will probably be pulling away here, and yeah, indeed already has gone. So that will get us banked back up behind Akash Nandi, who'll control this one again. Would have been looking for a good jump, looking to try and pull away, and indeed he was making some margin quite quickly in the early stages of this one. Now they'll have to reset and have another crack at it. But field's going to condense just a little bit as well. This will present an opportunity for the 11 machine to catch the field at least a little bit as everyone continues warming their tyres as much as they possibly can.
And I guess the other benefit is, or actually, no, they're not going to have a benefit, I don't think, because by the sound of that there, foot is down to the firewalls, and we're going back racing once again here for the drivers in GT3. And you see actually the snake of these cars as they'll round the final turn. And indeed, Akash Nandi has said no more waiting around. We are back green here from the Petronas Sepang International Circuit. And 51.5 minutes on the clock still. means we will resume the racing action here. And you can see it's already on for third place. Juan Rohan having to defend from Pity Birambakti into turn number 1. And we'll be able to cover off the inside for now. As, our 9 GT3 cars on the lead lap. Single file through the opening 2 turns at this time. A chance now to reset and see what they can do here with the single file restart and all being lined up nose to tail. By the looks of things, for the number 11 machine, it's just approaching turn 15 now as your leaders here coming up towards turn number 4.
Yep, so not attached to the railer end of the train, but that's also going to allow GT4, GTM categories to sort of spread apart just a little bit by the time that he'll arrive to clear a few of those cars out. Meantime, racing action relatively sedate at the front of the GT3 category. You can just see that Voravud Birambakti behind the wheel of the 89 entry, starting to try and hunt back down Chunhua Chen in the 91 machine. But best start for the 65 Viper Nitsa Racing Mercedes AMG they've had this season, and indeed last season as well. The Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim sitting themselves really nicely inside of 5th position as it currently stands, and just showing the tyres still not up to temperature at the rear of the Mercedes V8. I tell you what, Sandy Stuvik's managed to go a lot closer this time by with Akash Nandi. Nandi not necessarily pulling away as far. It seems as if Stuvik was struggling a little bit on the cold tyres there, Dan, but a little bit of temperature in. It's responded quite nicely, and it is going quite well with Akash Nandi.
Yeah, it looks nice and close, in particular at the final corner there for turn 15. And as a result, let's see here, Akash not going to defend too hard, so he's still comfortable enough to be able to run a regular line towards turn number 1, and makes some sense. And then over he's angle in, early first apex. Can he hold it to the curb? Not really, but allows him to double back and open up the run into turn number 2, but so will Stuvik. And then you've got Juan Rohan. Also note, of course, for Rohan, and now Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim, they're the only 2 cars still running in the GT3 AM subcategory. So 25A versus the 65 will be a battle to watch, separate to the outright honours that our other drivers in GT3 are racing for here today. So I think we can also talk about with the GTM and GT4 categories down the line, as well as your leading drivers winding through turns 5 and 6 here. 48.5 minutes now on the clock as they're on their 5th lap of the race.
I can tell you the class battle as well, incredibly tight for GTM at the front end of things. Only half a second or so in it for the lead of GTM. And Nadavude has it. Sorry, my apologies. It's going to be Kittapult at the moment, leading from Munkol. Now this is back within our GT4 standings. And a battle back here, incredibly close as well. You can just see that's the Hayden Heikal Mercedes, currently driven by his teammate Peter Hackett. So that will be for 19th. And the 2 that shot through the front end of that shot just before will be your front 2 GT4 cars, the 18 Vodakot and Amma Harris Jeffrey in the Winghin Motorsports 39 car. And then you get back to these 2, Peter Hackett and Nanin Indra Payung for Racing Aurora and 2W Zoomies, respectively. This is probably going to go on for quite a number of laps as they continue to bring the tyres up to temperature. About optimal at the moment as our race leader in GT3s comes through to complete another lap. 6th the fastest lap on the board for Akash Nandi, making a little bit of time now. But GTM still relatively close together. How good is
things? Pardon me, I think I've just cut you off there just a little bit. I was going to say, yeah, for all intents and purposes, most of our classes, yeah, all awfully close together still, despite it being a couple of laps to see if people might perhaps spread out. So, yeah, good to say this. You can see here, Sarah Wood and Afiq Yazid, the PSC Motorsport Lamborghini Huracan Super Trailer. A little bit of a slow start for them in this race, despite their performance in Q2 earlier today. Saw them up towards the top of the time charts there. So a bit of work to do here in this evening's race before they can try and reap the benefits of a strong Q2 for race 2 tomorrow.
Yeah, but they'll keep away at that one. And I'm interested. I just want to really see that Amr Nakib versus Intrafuzak Kasiri battle for GT4, because they're exceptionally close together. And Peter Hackett and Nanin Indra exceptionally close together on track as well. So those battles further back. Although for outright honours in terms of GT4 standings as well, very much worth a look in. Hayden Haikal, I'm interested to see how well he does here this weekend. Being Malaysian driver, incredibly keen to keep an eye on him as he continues to progress in things. Known for being an aggressive driver in Thailand Super Eco. Certainly isn't afraid to get out there and ruffle feathers, and looks like he might be on for a Super Eco championship if he can continue to be quick. How good is it seeing as well the Mark Mustang back out and turning racing laps with Corliss behind the wheel at the moment.
100% it is. That car's championship record this year, unfortunately, has been one DNF, and the remaining the remaining 6 races of the season have been DNS statistics for that car. So still early days, only 15 minutes in, 45 minutes to go, plus another lap on top of that. But they're looking like they can challenge there with Simon Chan. That Fire Monkey Motorsport car will be 14th outright. It'll be also 4th in GTM when you combine the 2 subdivisions. They are racing in different GTM Am and GTM Pro Am, so not strictly speaking always racing each other in some respects. So we'll have to see how quickly, if it does change in due course, is that their shot of our last 2 cars in GT3, Yin Yu Chen or Betty Chen and Henk Kicks working their way around turns 1 and 2. And speaking of that battle back in GTM, according to timing there, Craig Corliss now ahead of Simon Chan across the start-finish line.
I was going to say as well, how beautiful was that that Fire Monkey green Porsche Cup car under the lights as well. Very, very pretty when the lighting hits it. Beautiful car to run at night. And confirmation of the driver combination of Hank Kicks and Marcus Winkelhock behind the wheel of the 27. Interesting to see Winkelhock when he gets back behind the wheel, how aggressive he's going to look. Potentially could be for him as well a stint that might be a little bit traffic affected. That's where some of your pro drivers are really going to show their mettle and what they're capable of. Update on the number 11 car that was involved in that incident, still circulating at this point in time, is caught and passed quite a number of the back end of the GT4 standings at the moment, so making his way through. He's just overtaken, or is about to overtake 5th, I believe, in class. So he's just about to come up to those 2x2 battles for 1st through 4th in GT4. So continuing to circulate. Number 12 car at the moment. This is your championship leader in GT3 outright as it stands. And another strong result yesterday is certainly starting to make them look very, very strong, with a pole position to come for tomorrow's race. 4th here might just be good enough. They'll have a very long pit stop though today, will be one of the things that they'll have to handle after winning yesterday's race number 6. But the results are all going their way, and it could be a Team Singer Thailand championship when we get to Chung on the 15th and 16th of December.
Could be indeed. Speaking of battles, here's your lead for GTM. Kittapole versus Munkong, fighting over it, and they're well clear of everyone behind them, it seems, in the last couple laps. They've really established themselves out in front in a little bubble of uncontested air to the rest of the GTM field. So that's going to be something they like to see. On that last particular lap, though, faster of the 2 cars on track was the number 17 of Munkong in that AES Motorsport Porsche 911 GT3 Cup car. You can hear just cutting above the engine note of the Ferrari 488 Challenge. A little wide there, though, from Kittapole through turn 5. I have to be careful not to run out too wide there, I suppose, based on what we saw on lap 1. But at the same time, tyre pressures up to temperature now might be in a better situation to be able to handle being a little bit more offline as a little further up the road in GT3. Seeing here Chunhua Chen and Harry Vorovud on back. He'll be in these cars at the moment. Indeed, 6th, 7th. Just about 15 seconds off the GT3 lead. Can either of these two cars make their way forward in the back half of the race once the driver swaps take place?
Actually, I'll tell you something interesting I did actually notice. I was looking at some footage of Bottas's helmet and Valtteri Bottas's car over the last couple of races from Formula 1, actually supported by Team Singer Motorsports as well. So, interesting to see if once he finally steps aside from Formula 1, we might see him over competing in the Thailand Super Series. Who knows? But keeping themselves focused on the racing action at the moment. The difficulty is right now just trying to close down and certainly make that pass. Qualifying order, of course, there's quite a few cars that were incredibly close together in terms of qualifying speed yesterday, but earlier today. But no one's really been able to. It's sort of the GT4s we're keeping half an eye on. Although at this point in time, I tell you what, the 25B of Kittapole and Mungkong, that's 17 car, only a tenth of a second apart as they cross the start-finish line on that lap. So they're starting to get a lot closer yet again. As for your GT4s, the seems to have found a little bit more time at the moment, starting to run away at the front end of the GT4 category. Do wonder. Yes. Yeah, Hackett's been passed for third in that class as well. Nananindra will step into third spot in the 58 car.
Yeah, a bit more of a spacing occurring in the lower classes. So some of the battles we saw to kick things off early have sort of faded a bit. Now, part of that also could be the fact that we do have drivers like Anderson Tomoto in that EBM Aston Martin trying to work his way through things without rocking the boat too much. But nevertheless, what that is doing, of course, is requiring drivers to sort of move aside at times. As our first notice from race control since the safety car comes through, it's a black and white flag to the number 7 machine, which is Graham John Dowsett in the Team NZ Aston Martin GT4. Currently running 5th of the GT4 Pro-Ams, and that is currently sitting 7th of the GT4s in that class. So they're now pushing the limits with track to the point where they've got to keep things in mind for the rest of the race, and that's quite early to get that one. Barely 1/3 distance, Scott. Still got just under 40 minutes to go in this one here, and you're going to have to now be on your best game there to not mess that up track limits wise from here.
Yep, so it'll be something they'll have to manage for the remainder of the race. Down in the middle of the field of our GT4 competitors. Back up to the point in terms of things. Akash and Andy's still building that margin. At the moment out to 1.5 seconds now. So Sandy Stuvik still managing to go ahead and have a look at the light flash now from number 17 entry on the run down to turn number 1. I definitely feel like Munkol is a touch faster. But just not able to get alongside. Got very close to the rear bumper now of Kittapole. The Ferrari 488 Challenge entry for Singer Motorsport Team Thailand. Run down to turn number 4. Is he quite close enough? So the mid-corner speed from the Porsche has been quite strong. And then they get out the other side, get on the exit, and he just can't get close enough. But he is starting to challenge just a little bit more. Pit window now opening in about 2 minutes' time, which we'll start to see strategy come into this one. Might see a few cars coming quite early. And I get the feeling that these two teams will be doing whatever the other one doesn't do. Again, another flash there, Dan. So he is absolutely... He's not happy, is Mungkong. He's definitely feeling like he's being held up.
Yeah. That would suggest the case. Question is, can he find a way past to execute on his supposed pace advantage here so far? The question is it then again, all you can describe it, is it just flashing the headlights to basically just keep him focused on the mirrors rather than up ahead, as we'll check back in with him later, because there's your top three in GT3, all from various parts of the B-Quik Absolute Racing stables. Now picking up their first GT4 traffic, if I'm not mistaken, starting with the number 19 of Sutapong from Toyota Gazoo Racing Thailand. There, a little ways off the back of the GT4 pack, unfortunately for him. But nevertheless, we'll carry on there as your GT3 leaders go past. So 4 seconds covering your top three. The question will now be, as we start thinking about pit stops, potentially as early as this current lap. Here, Scott, with 40 seconds on the clock and they're only entering turn 7. They'll be well and truly inside the time window to be able to come in if they wanted to do it straight away here. On this, the 11th lap of the race.
Yep, so time's starting to favour them. See who's going to dive to the lane nice and early. Get that stop out of the way. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, so the other thing is, of course, the whole sort of thing with the long stops, you'd be at risk of going a lap down, and the biggest problem might be the case of, well, if a safety car was to come out, do you go a lap down, you get trapped a lap down until after the restart, and the pit window reopens. Of course, if you haven't watched us before, and watched this series before, as indeed messages come through 10 seconds ago, pit window is open, as we've watched here Sandy Stuvik round turn 14. That if a safety car comes out now in the next 10 minutes, the pit window is frozen, and the remaining time on the pit window will be restarted once the race has been restarted as well. So, with the risk of going a lap down, here's going to be this question of when do you come to the pit lane? And the answer is going to be, I think all of our top three have stayed out. No, Sandy Stuvik, first car, going to head to the pit lane. As we watch across the timing here, 25.8, takes over second place on the road at this time.
Yeah, so what's Wang Rohan got? How long is he going to stay out in this car? And have a look at the front brakes aglow on the number 25 Audi, as he was on the anchors quite hard on the run into number 1. Update, more cars coming to the pit lane as well. Pity Biron Bakhti is in. We'll hand over to co-driver as Chunhua Chen with Jesse Crone will be climbing into that car. Vorovud Biron Bakhti will hand on over to Carlo Van Dam. Hank Kicks to Marcus Winkelhock and Yinyu Chen, Jasmine Jafar. So driver swaps now occurring for a large part of our GT3 field. Both the Team Singer Motorsport Thailand entries are in to do their driver swaps, and tyres being thrown the front end of the 89 car as well.
Yeah, I think a fair few of our teams are going to choose to do tyre swaps here. That's not uncommon, even despite the improved temperature. The main thing I'm going to worry about there is for the number 12, that's going to be an awfully tight squeeze out of the pits for them, given that an 89 has come through from in front and then try and park up in a pit bay there. So hopefully they'll be able to maneuver the 89, maneuver the 12 a little bit there to allow it to get out without too much fuss. As back up with your race leader coming up into turn 14 for Akash and Andy. So the question will now be, approaches on GT4 traffic. So just get a little held up there, and that'll mean that'll cost him a couple of tenths of a second, possibly a second maybe, if it was rather, it was a little bit of a tight squeeze there. So, another lap down. Will the 62 come to the pit lane this time round? That looks like he's carrying on for another lap here, indeed, Scott.
Yeah, so track is relatively clear ahead of him, so I think he's just watching. There is the 59 car, and there was two cars on the road just ahead of him. So I believe that'd be the 59 and the 39 sort of together from the GT4 field. So he will catch them probably at the tail end of the current lap that he's just started. So he might look to dive in there. Have a look at the angle as well. The 25B has been forced to come in at just to get that car in. The 91's now been released from pit lane. That's Jeffrey Ibrahim around the outside. So that's very, very close quarters post pit stop for these two. Although I don't think the 65 machine's actually been in for its stop as of yet, so they're still running on.
Yeah.
Tight battling for these guys. This is critical for the 91 machine as well in terms of their race, because Jesse Crone will want to get in behind the wheel and he wants to get on with this one, albeit at the moment he is lap traffic to the 65 machine.
Yeah, do keep that in mind, and that will be the big thing to worry about. You can see now at least there are literally just 4 cars. No, sorry. Actually a fair few cars, and also critically in the cycle of cars that have pitted so far. Yeah, Sandy Stuvik still holds down second, or she's technically the effective race lead. Jesse Cron up to third. Kansas Siri effective fourth. Van Dam to fifth. Yeah, the 25. Oh, sorry, no, my bad. The 25 hadn't pitted
Getting
yet.
held up.
And now let's see here. Jesse around the outside of turns 10 into 11.
He's had to take a fair bit of risk there to get that one done, but we'll get it done out on the track. Not for an effective position as it currently stands, but that is going to cost Jesse Crone some time. And that could be very important when we get to the tail end of this race. When we're looking at that one, the 62 machine halfway through the pit lane window now will dive on into the pit lane. So Akash Nandi to hand over to Eshan Pieris. And we'll drive it hard all the way into that pit lane. All the way down to the 60km/h speed limit. So race leader now pits. Now we keep an eye out for the 25A machine of Huang Rohan in behind. I think they've gone another lap as well. So they are going to continue on and lead laps of the race. So they'll hand over to Lin Hao in a few moments. There's Jalen Robotham climbing into the number 8 Mark Mustang in the background for Corliss Racing Engineering.
As you can see, we've got some people looking at the timing tower and trying to place their favourite drivers. I'll also say at the moment we might just want to wait until the pit cycle is completely flushed. There are 2 GT3s, then a couple of one GTM, and then a handful of GT4s still to pit before it all cycles out.
Keep your eyes on the right-hand side of that timing tower as well. The colours, the blue bar on the right-hand side of that one denotes a GT3, red's going to denote GTM, and green bars are going to denote GT4. So that will help you sort of shake that one out and understand that timing tower just a little bit better.
Yep, that will be. Well, it's a very helpful guide to spot that one there, as you can see here. For Huang Rohan now navigating more GT4 traffic, and it's going to mean you have to up the inside at turn 13. Doesn't compromise him too much into turn 14, it would seem, although it's a little laborious and not wanting to turn in there, it seems, for him. But still got it 3 minutes, so realistically could do another lap if he so wanted in this pit cycle, but I get the feeling surely... No.
He's going to go for one more.
He's going to take at least that one more. In fact, how about that there? Just in front of him is the 37 now with Yi Deng behind the wheel. And that car, do remind you, is the leader of the cars that has stopped so far in this race. As out comes the 62, and that's an exchange of position through the pit cycle. The 37 inheriting the effective lead from the 62 there. So that's going to be important to note in the next little while. Can...
Is that Crow?
It's Eshan Pieris behind the wheel catch up to the other 37. And where was Jesse Cron? Possibly close by?
Yeah. I think there's a GT4 car in between the two of them. And I think that's actually effective where that GT4 car is. Was that yellow flags being displayed on the way down into turn number 4? I don't necessarily think so, because the green light's still flashing out the other side. So I think we're okay, but there was definitely flags being waved at the side. Might have just been green flags. I thought I saw... Not seeing any cars going missing at the moment. So race leader Huang Rohan, there was a yellow flag, and I think it's the number 10.
The number 10 is missing on timing, so that would be Simon Chan. And yep, there it is. Just comes into view there as the lighting sort of adjusts. So unfortunately for the Fire Monkey Motorsport Porsche 911 Cup car, and did double wave yellows at turn 4. Now it looks like they're going to be able to get this one back behind the wall and be able to keep on racing. He's been able to get to that break there, thankfully. But, well, that would have been a little bit of spice right at the end of the pit window for your race leader, who is one of only 2 cars yet to stop in this race. The other car being the 59 2W Zoomies GT4, which you can see there sitting 7th outright. There's a reason for that. It's out of sequence. And, yeah. Surely now, if I actually... They have to come in this lap now because they have 50 seconds left. 25A needs to peel in here as that's your effective race leader.
There he goes.
In Yideng. Well, let's see here. Does that 37 come out in front of the 25A once this pit stop cycle wraps up? And Jesse Cron through on Echampira is there. That's been a change of position since we last saw him.
Yeah, so he's now going to go chasing down 9 seconds the margin from Jesse Crone through to Sandy Stuvik, so I'll have to keep an eye on that one. It's just a touch under 9 seconds as it currently stands, and Lin Howell climbed behind the wheel of the 25 car. The 65's now in as well for Douglas Koo, so he'll get in and get out. They've got a very, very short stop. I think they've only got the 85-second stop because they're bronze rated as well, so very, very short stop for that car. They've got a chance of actually popping out with the race lead. In fact, I think they might. You know what, Dan? I think they might actually end up with the race lead in that 65 car.
I mean, true. It is a lot shorter than anyone else. As I said, Stuvik and Yideng, they had a 2-minute 12 stop, and they were looking as being the effective leaders of the race. Yeah, but my timing says, as you can see here on screen, that's through turn 11, whereas Stuvik is somewhere between turn 7 and 8, I think it is. My timing's not quite synced up with what I'm seeing here from the track, so I've got to sort of do a bit of maths. Now, in saying that, there is also the 25A. They could still potentially be in a position to challenge for the race lead here when the cycle wraps up.
So we watch and we wait for Viper Nitzer Racing. Could the addition of
25A's on the roll when timing.
Could the addition of Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim to this car certainly help their championship prospects towards the final couple of races of the season? Out of the final corner now for Douglas Koo. They've got a problem with the left rear brake light not activating in that car as well. Now we wait and see if we can pick up Lin Hao. Although Lin Hao might just be our race leader. We're going to have to wait to see who activates the Sector 2 timing line first. That's going to tell us the story.
Based on all of that there, Scott, I would say, and my timing does say it, it's the 25A comfortably leading the 65. So our 2 GT3 AM cars, by virtue of, in fact, we're going to pick them up on the screen, coming into turn 6 now. Yeah, that matches up. So thanks to their shorter stops, thanks to the compensation time adjustments there, your 2 cars still running in GT3 AM, that subdivision. 23 minutes still on the clock is plenty of time for drivers behind to start hunting them down. But the margins look quite impressive on track. It's going to have to take some serious pace up from these guys here in the back half of the field. Indeed, yeah, Huang Rohan, Lin Hao, apologies, now behind the wheel. First car through the Sector 2 timing beam. In saying that, as cars start coming through the Sector 2 timing, nearly 2 seconds slower than Jesse Cron. So we'll get an official gap update for you at the end of this lap as they start filtering through to really sort of make sense of it all. It's probably looking now at 20-odd seconds. Well, so again, we'll get numbers for you in a second. As GTM has shuffled around by the looks of things, and in fact, it's saying the 17 machine, which is the AAS Motorsport Porsche 992 Cup car, is coming out in front of that class. You've then got the 24 Renata Vude ahead of Superkit in the 25B. So again, compensation times, I think, really mixing things up for us here in several of our classes, Scott. So strap in, folks. It's going to be a fascinating race to the end by the looks of things.
Yeah, indeed it is. And don't take any mind of those gaps that you just saw on screen just a moment ago. That's still with a pit stop to come and be effectively applied and updated to the timing tower. So in just a few moments, when you see the 65 car cross the start-finish line, we'll actually get a representative gap.
There it is.
From that car. So there it is now. So 21.5 seconds will be the marker. Yi Dang is only about 4 seconds behind Doug Koo. And Koo's got an opportunity to try and get the head down. Jesse Krohn as well, only 7 seconds back off that car as well. In terms of lap times for Krohn, just set the fastest lap of the race, 2:06.9. So he took about 9/10 of a second off. Will be an opportunity with the remaining laps in the session as well. That battle could absolutely, that one could be run down for sure. So it'll come down to where they're all standing. Doug Koo in his best position that he's been in thus far throughout the series. Relatively close and enjoying things under the lights at Sepang. This car won the race yesterday. Kentasak Kasiri now has got some work to do. Sits 5th on the road, 5 seconds now behind Jesse Krohn. 2:07.8 as well, so matched 3rd place Sandy Stuvik and Yi Dang's time. Yi Dang leading out that one, and then we'll have a look back towards our GT4 racing action as well. This battle is for 2nd on the track. Hayden Heikal in the Mercedes has the position, dive down into turn number 1. The 59 missed the braking marker and dive to the left-hand side. That's going to open the door now for the 26, who's going to slide down the inside, becomes the outside of turn 2, doesn't complete the pass. Oh, does he save it? No, he doesn't. Around goes the 59 at turn 2. And that will change things. They were sitting in 3rd. Overdriving didn't look stable on the brakes down into turn number 1, Dan. And unfortunately, it's gone around at turn 2.
Yeah, tried to really challenge her. Had the inside, though, which was going to be the thing. But coming in narrow angle and just looks like in too fast. Yeah, the rear unable to keep up with that. And very lucky there, it seems, that the drivers who then came through after him were able to avoid. But that therefore releases Irwin de Smit in the number 26, B-Quik Absolute Racing Porsche Cayman. Problem is that they're... where are they? Pardon me, looking for them here. As the 17 of Kana Suta goes through in the GTM lead. Meanwhile, trying to look for where... Up there it is, the 36 Racing Aurora. Mercedes ENG is 2nd in class with Hayden Heikal behind the wheel. And then you've got the number 18, GT Boaz. There you go, fight on now for 2nd. Oh, sorry, 3rd. My boy, Jesse Krohn, has carved up the margin to Douglas Koo. Unfortunately, he's been closing at a rate of around, according to this here, well, actually over 10 seconds on the last lap, nearly 10 seconds on the last lap alone. And it also looks like Marcus Winkelhock on Jasmine now potentially up for grabs here. So some of our faster drivers, having been saddled with those longer pit stops to make up for their performance, now getting the opportunity to stretch their legs as Carlo Van Dam all over the back. Is that the 62 of Eshan Pieris there? I think it is.
Oh. He created an opportunity. There was a hole down there as they run down out of turn 4 to turn 5. He actually left him a hole. Eshan Pieris. Carlo Van Dam, a little bit of a slide as they come out of turn 6. They're running to turn number 7 now, so starting to press on. Pieris coming under a little bit of pressure. That's going to provide an opportunity for Jasmine in behind. And next 2 cars on the road as well. Marcus Winkelhock at the back end of this one will be looking to try and cut his way through. Again, Van Dam gets quite close in that Honda NSX to Eshan Pieris. So it's on here for 6th place on the road. At this rate, they will run down Doug Koo as well. So it could become 5th place overall. In actual fact, that the lap times as well. Eshan Pieris not brilliant at the moment, so he is certainly looking vulnerable.
Yeah, he is indeed. So up towards the front of the field, Yi Deng behind the wheel of the 37 for the win here by BQAR car now. Come across the line and has just taken nearly 4 seconds out of the race lead. Lin Hao, they're at 2:12.2 on that last lap. Now, that's still a substantial margin, but at 4 seconds every lap, if Yideng can keep that up at the moment as well. We'll talk about that later because here we go. Eshampiris having to defend from Carlo Van Dam, and the inside is all we can do is Van Dam, middle of the road. Can he outbrake the 62 into turn 1? He'll try, but he's in very deep as a result and won't be able to challenge at turn 2. Oh, no, he'll try anyways. Up the inside, clobber the apex curb, still comes out in behind.
Yeah, I don't know whether or not that was actually a hold down at turn 2, but either way, it just shows the aggression level that he's going through at the moment, trying everything to see if he can find a way past. He's going to have another look down at turn 4, just shows the nose, fills the rear view mirror with some headlights. It got very close now to the rear bumper of the 62 machine. Pieris is searching for any way to hang on to that one, and in the background of that shot as well, the next 2 cars on the road, Jasmine and Marcus Winkelhock. Winkelhock was also extremely close to the rear bumper of the 90 BMW.
And Douglas Koo is just off to the left of screen here. In fact, there he is. So indeed, P5 is now very much on the cards for all of these cars that we're talking about now. There you go, headlight flash from Eshampiris. He wants through as fast as he can as they are going to go, well, unfortunately for Douglas Koo, racing past him here on this lap, unless he's got some magic he can pull off in terms of defensive positioning.
Yeah, Koo a little bit wide, can't carry the speed down there through turn 11. So they're going to try and go the long way around of him at turn 12. That's going to buy Pieris a little bit of time as Carlo Van Dam will try and line up the overtake as well. And I think Van Dam's managed to make his way through. And pick up the spot, and Didi does. Follows through in the background of that shot. Was that an Audi down the inside? Was that a BMW? As they run through turn 14. I thought that might have been, for just a moment, that might have been an Audi that's getting down to the inside. Koo, I think, is pulling to the side of the road, looking to be a little bit defensive. They're going to go deep down into the final corner as well. And it was actually Winkelhock really having a crack at the number 91 car. So the 90 machine. Now he is close. He's got a really good drive off the final corner. He's going to chase him for a little bit of tow down the main straightaway. Is Marcus Winkelhock going to pull out here? We'll watch for the headlights in this shot. Covered back to the inside. The number 90 machine, he's going to force Winkelhock to go the long way around. If he can stay there, does get alongside, forces the 90 car in nice and narrow. Can he stay alongside as they get out of here? No, he can't. And that means he'll have to go back and look for the drive off of turn number 2 as well. You can see that he's just faster at the moment, but can't find a way to pull alongside of Jasmine. He's a little bit closer though. This could present an opportunity when they get down to turn number 4. 14 minutes left in this race now. We watch for the headlights, still no chance of an overlap. And look at how close he's getting to the rear bumper. That BMW's saving itself with just a little bit of that straight line speed here, Dan. It's the only way it's keeping itself in contention at the moment. Winkelhock just can't get an overlap on that car.
It would seem not. As watching here also, be wary of a potential battle right at the end of this race for Jesse Cron versus Yideng. They're also still catching Lin Hao rapidly to the tune of anywhere from 3 to 4 seconds a lap. By my odds, that's just fast enough to get there in time for a battle at the end of this race. So we could have ourselves a 3-way fight, but it is going to rely on potentially like a bit of traffic for your race leader coming in an ill-opportune time, plus a continued hard-charging pace from our drivers here in the 37 and the 91. They too are going to have to get through traffic without being held up all too much, as Cron's going to try and stay to the racing line. Nope, you have to flash the headlights and clear the 38 of Natapong to the inside at turn 15. But let's you watch here for the gap. It was 16 seconds last lap for P1 to P2, and round the final turn, it's down to 11.1. That's been a rough lap for Lin Hao, and Jesse Cron takes another 3/10 out of Yideng as well. 15 seconds covers your top 3. Kanataka Series also in spitting distance, but he's not close enough. He's actually the fastest at the top 4, just a little bit too far back, I think, to be in real chance of a shot. As there's your race leader, trying to cut through slower class traffic here with 12 minutes on the board. Scott with that and a lap to go. He's going to have to get ready to fight for his life, I think, if they want to have a chance at tackling an outright GT3 win. Don't forget, though, they are the GT3 AM class leaders, comfortably so now over the 65 Viper Ninja racing machine. So, in some respects, they're not always going to have to race. Or to have to race for that outright win.
I'm just keeping an eye on some of the other classes here as well, Dan. Most recent time by, the 25B car, who have now done their driver swap as well and handed on over to Superkit. They are closing in on the GTM leader, which is the 17 car, Kanasuda, behind the wheel of that one at this point in time. And the number 8 machine that's in behind them, Jalen Robotham's behind the wheel. He's the quickest in that class at the moment, so he took half a second. That battle's going to come down to the final couple of laps. They are all going to get extremely tight in terms of your GTM standings as well. But yeah, once again, sector time's looking good for Yideng to potentially get there in the dying stage of this one. And I tell you what, the sector time from Jesse Krohn in sector 3, 38 flat, takes another 0.4 of a second out of Yideng, so he's making time down there as well. Where's Winkelhock? Is he still making time? Again, just quicker in quite a number of the sectors, but just not able to make the pass, and that's what we're keeping half an eye on.
Update from race control. I was going to say the track still looks fine, but they've apparently now declared the circuit wet. And in fact, that's looking a little hairy now in a few spots. Cars starting to sort of wiggle around a little bit more than they were earlier on in this race, Scott. I haven't seen any visible rain. Is there something lingering around the circuit that is...
You have a look at the lap times, Dan. They've all about fallen off about 2 to 3 seconds across all the classes, realistically. So there is a little bit of lap time fall off at the moment. Could be tyres, could be ailing tyres. That's rain. That's definitely rain on the windscreen there of the 89 machine. Is they're going to slide down the inside for Carlo Van Dam. That's the pass finally done on Eschen Pierres. So they will move up one more spot. That puts them into 5th spot. Again, you just see in the background, Winkelhock can't make his way past Jasmine. Again, continuing to struggle to try and get that move done. But that might now release Carlo Van Dam to see if he can go and make some time. 11 seconds down the road now to Kantasak Kasiri is the problem for that car. So work to do. Battle in GTM continues to close. Unfortunately, GT4 category looks like it is going to be comfortably won by the number 18 car for AAS Motorsport. Kasiri behind the wheel of that one. Hayden Haikal sits 2nd in class, and Arabe 3rd in the 58 entry. Dang now brought the lead for outright honours down under 10 seconds as well. Krohn to 12 seconds, so they are still coming. 9 minutes on the clock now. Running out of time.
Winkelhock. Oh, splits the GT4 car and gets a position around turns 10 and 11. Oh, that's come at just the right time for Marcus Winkelhock. Finally through on Jasmine there in the BMW for the number 90. As confirmation from race control has just advised us there. They have been advised drizzle at various parts around the circuit. So,
nearly had him
wide there.
Straight back from Marcus Winkelhock as he got out and along the curbing at turn 14. He's going to run it narrow because this is exactly how he was defended earlier on from Jasmine as they run down now into turn number 15. Deep on the entry. Going to rotate it back. No overlap at the moment for the number 90 car. That'll allow Winkelhock to just get a lightly better drive off and cover him off. He's going to offer him no toe. Down the front straight away. We keep our eyes through the gloom. In the back of the shot, is he going to dive it down the inside yet again? No, Winkelhock's got that one covered. So that might be the end of that battle now.
There it is at turn 1. That's definite rain there in the lights at turn 1. So they're coming in on slicks. They're hot slicks, of course. But they're barreling in at speed to rain that is now approaching from what would be the western end of the circuit in that case. So that is going to make the opening sector and parts of the final sector very dicey indeed. As that there, on track, that is now a battle for 2nd in GTM. Jalen Robotham has caught up to Superkit, and he looks to have a lot of confidence in that Ford Mark Mustang, but they're coming up into the trickier part of the circuit that should be a little wet. And indeed, you can just start to see it now, I think. It's, very, very hard to see. But he's going to get underneath him at turn 14. Indeed, has he got the traction to run up? He's going to challenge at turn 15, Scott.
There's no overlap at the moment, and have a look at the battling deeper in the field as well. I'm telling you, I'm just looking across at the timing charts. Fastest cars on track at the moment, 209s. We've seen a 206 in this session, so we've now fallen off 3 seconds. And confirmation, the rain, the heavens have opened. Is someone going to stay out on slicks and try and win this race?
No.
No, is that a 62? That's
Both the B-Quik cars.
And there's a Porsche involved as well. That's the other one. That's 3 B-Quik cars all around.
The damage to the rear of the 62 as well, as it pulls away, whereas Marcus Winkelhock is trapped in the sand, and Erwin de Smet in the 26. They've come together on the approach to turn 9.
The safety car for sure. This race will finish under a safety car now.
Oh, just as we thought the action might have brewed. You can see the flags are out here, and we're just waiting for the inevitable. Yeah, there it is, a safety car board out with the flags. 6 minutes on the clock, and I think, folks, unfortunately, that might just bring an end to everything that we thought we were going to see. As, lap times, well, I think part of that is also affected by them slowing down to take the safety car call.
No, that was rain. That's all rain affected. All rain affected. Have a look at the... Did you see... That's Winkelhock climbing from that car. But did you see the Porsche? The front left tyre, driver's front left tyre. Oh, we're actually going to get a replay of it.
Okay, so that's in the background.
There's 3 wide back there. Well, the Porsche doesn't recognise he's got somebody on the right.
Oh! So it's GT4 cars that have come together, and then as a result, the 2 B-Quik Absolute Racing Audis, well, one of them, I think the 27 slams into the 62 there.
Yeah, so Winkelhock's been collected by the 26.
I'm just trying to see, which of the... Now, is that 2W Zoomies that runs another GT4 Cayman? I actually need to go to the entry list and try and figure it out. Because it was definitely 2 Cayman GT4s that got... like
19? No, it wasn't the 19, because it wasn't a Supra.
No, I'm looking for a Cayman. It wasn't AAS Motorsport. It would be, 2W Zoomies number 95, I think, by the looks of the entry list. And in fact, go off the missing chart. No, that doesn't help, because the 95, if they were the ones involved, they're still circulating now, just behind the safety car in that case.
Wow, I mean, so the problem is, that's they were 4 wide, effectively very close to 4 wide is what's triggered that incident. And that's a shame, because if you have a look from Jalen Robotham's perspective, I think he was going to run them down, potentially go on for a race lead. He's lost that opportunity now. I don't think they'll get this race restarted. Eshan Pieris is just a passenger, because he was just tagged around in that one, but so was Winkelhock, and that come from the 26 car. It was effectively forward. He had no idea there was a car on his right-hand side. No idea whatsoever. He was trying to provide as much space for the GT3 cars, and there was 4 of them to let by in that section of track. That's what he was attempting to do. And, look. Is that the 25 car in the lane? Don't tell me that's the 25 car. That's definitely...
No, Akash and Eshan Pieris have come to the lane in the 62. There is the 25A and the 37 now being collected by the safety car.
That's a scary accident, though. That was an absolutely scary accident. And multi-class wide GP circuit racing, really, is what's triggered that one. 2 GT4 cars that are going racing, and he's not trying to squeeze the car. It was indeed the 95 from 26's perspective. He wasn't trying to squeeze it. All he was trying to do was get out of the way of the GT3 cars that are coming through. Wasn't trying to race all that hard, just trying and create an opportunity. So I don't think there's much in that one. I think race control will take a look at it. Look, he's trying to do the right thing. That's just part and parcel of multi-class racing. There's just you won't take much in that. Dan, your thoughts on it? Is that what you read as well?
I mean, I'm hoping and being told we might be able to get one more replay of that up here to try and have a look at that one again. The only issue being is we're stuck with that same angle that we were looking at earlier, which means we've got the lights coming straight at us. So it makes it a little hard to spot. I mean, yeah, it's just I think unfortunately we've got multiple GT3s. In fact, it's just coming through on timing now that it's going to be reviewed further post race by the stewards. Let's see, have another look at it here. So you've got the 95 pops out from behind the 26, and the 26 moves over for his GT3 cars, and then moves over and slams into the 27. The 27 is then a pinball that unfortunately collects the 62. Very luckily, the 62 walks away with minor damage and is in the grass and is able to back out and go again. So yeah, the 95 goes to the outside and is there on driver's right. Actually, here we go, another angle of that one. So it's a little late to catch the initial slide, but yeah, you can see there the 95 trying to get past the 26 just in their own GT4 class battle. And unfortunately, either they made a bit of contact or just the reaction from the 26, Erwin to Smith, to try and steer clear. Seen him lose control as it got a little greasy up there towards turn 9. And yeah, smash into Winkelhock. Unfortunately, that's broken the 27 and spun it round. And yeah, the 62, the other car, which relatively speaking ends up unscathed. But now, having taken a stop to fix things up, it seems, and also I think for the sake of it, probably slap on wet tyres, is now a lap down. Yeah, a lap down and behind several GTM cars to boot.
Just with the circuit conditions and rain coming down, there's no way they'll release this field. They won't do it from a safety perspective because they've all lost tyre temperature, they've all lost tyre pressure. There's a bunch of cars in the mix that they'll either red flag this or they'll just throw the checkers. They might just throw the checkered flag here, and that's checkered flag in hand.
Because don't forget, it's time plus 1 lap, but I guess if there's no chance of restarting the race,
yeah,
you can arguably say there's no need to do the extra lap once time hits 0 here. So makes sense, yeah, that unfortunately we are going to end this one under safety car conditions, and it means that Lin Hao and Huang Rohan, they looked like there was a chance they would have to fight for it, but they will hang on to the race win here today for race 7 of the championship in the Super Series by B-Quik, and also come outright winning in the GT3, one of the GT3 AM cars in this field. So time has reached 0. Will we have a checkered flag this time by, or will, because of the regulations, we'll have to do one more lap behind the safety car here, Scott, and then we can call it a race here tonight.
Yeah, so field will be frozen, and they will circulate for one more time to pick up the checkered flag. But my word, that just kept getting more and more exciting. It dragged out a little bit early on. Field spread was quite big, but it always comes back together at the tail end of the race, doesn't it? You've got a bunch of different driver pairings to come through. And that was just getting exciting as that one dragged on. Think about the interesting factor though from the number 12 car as well. That's championship rivals effectively taken out in that one as well. So that's a valid. They're going to lose a couple points here to Krone and Chunhua Chen, who finish in 3rd as it currently stands, and they were the closest leading into yesterday's race. Sandy Stuvik and Yi Deng as well are going to finish slightly ahead of them, but it's not massive amounts of championship points. With the race win yesterday as well, they're probably headed into tomorrow's race with a little bit of margin to play with, but it's still very, very tight at the top end of your GT3 standings. Confirmation of the final lap of the race too. Finishing under safety car. It's been a while since we've seen one of those, Dan. But,
I mean, yeah.
3 cars to extract. You can understand why they're going to do it.
Yeah, it's obviously a shame, but I mean, yeah, how else to, there's not much else you can say to it. As you said, it's been one we haven't seen too much of, and you still got debris there to the side of the circuit, so there's just no chance to be able to get that sorted out. And also, you'd then be asking drivers to either do a lap on slicks, under pressure, under temp, as it's raining, or still try and do a lap regardless, but you're then on under, well, if you come in and hit, you're then on under pressure wets, which might give you some benefit, but not a huge amount anyways there. So unfortunately, it does put an end to what could have been, and the fact that we were excitedly looking at a possibility of Yi Deng chasing down Lin Hao, but also Jesse Cron looking to come and catch up to the pair of them both as well. Can take a series an outside chance to essentially steal a podium, placing away 2. And also, likewise, in the GTM category, Jalen Robotham was still catching up to Karnasuta slightly. Unfortunately, they'll have to settle for second place in the class there. The Ford CRE Lanatech Lukamoli Racing entry, which, in saying that, given what they've gone through so far this season with 1 DNF and the remaining races of the season have all been DNS statistics, I think they'll be quite happy to come home with a second, even if it means they didn't get the chance to race all the way to the checkered flag. As it is continuing to come down, and it will not be stopping anytime soon here at the Petronas Sepang International Circuit, it would seem. So, yeah, that'll be starting to get proper hairy even on slicks, I would think. So safety car lights are going to go out here, it seems, for the final lap. We'll see here. Will the safety car actually peel into the pits and the leaders will...
There's no way that we're finishing another safety car.
Well, we are finishing another safety car because the safety car is actually going to come in for the sake of the race, and it will be the leader to take them around at pacing speed to finish this one off. So yeah, drivers will have to hold position, but the checkered flag can now come out here at the start-finish line, and Huang Rohan and Lin Hao can take their race win. And there you go. It might be not quite the race result we wanted, but nevertheless, race win to the way of the 25A in GT3, both for the AM division and outright. The 17 AAS Motorsport Porsche 992 Cup car, they will win in GTM. GT4 goes the way of their sibling AAS Motorsport Porsche Cayman GT4, the number 18 machine.
Gee whiz. Yeah, that all happened really quickly, didn't it? And I believe that's Hayden Heikal behind the wheel flashing the headlights, who will finish second in GT4. One of only 2 GT4s to finish at 1 lap down as well. So they locked that one up, the last car in the train. And we're just shy of going to 2 laps down when the safety car was called and froze that field. But yeah, Lin Hao and Huang Rohan going to drive the 25A, the AM entry, to an overall line win in race number 7. And the challenges of multi-class racing will impact race number 7. The weather gets involved at the very tail end of it as well. But drivers were challenged here today. Lin Hao had some work to do in the final run to the flag and did it well. Deng Yi and Sandy Stuvik will take another P2. They've had a strong season behind the wheel of the 37 car. We're heading into this weekend sitting equal second in the championship, and it's becoming a 3-way fight between the 12 car, the 91 and the 37. 3 different manufacturers, 3 different teams supplying those 3 cars. And we're going to end up with probably an exciting championship battle come the final round on the 15th of December. Back at the Chang International Circuit. 1 race to come tomorrow for both the Thailand Super Series categories. GTC will be off first. That will happen from 11:15 AM local time tomorrow. And for those of you wondering what time it is currently in Malaysia, it's 8:40 PM in Malaysian time. That'll run for 10 laps. Sorry, my apologies. That will be GT3, GTM, GT4. So that will start 11:15 AM. So for the teams with affected race cars, I've only got about 13-14 hours to turn these cars around and ship them back again for racing tomorrow. So GT4s, the B-Quik Absolute team, have got a fair bit of work to do to repair those cars, 3 of them, to get them back out there for racing tomorrow. And then from 5 to 5:30 PM tomorrow afternoon will be race number 6 for GTC category. Again, local time. And have a look at how wet it is down in the pit lane as well. And onto the garage and celebrations begin as they climb from aboard the 25 machine. Howlin with a race win to his name now. And the series of phenomenal racing from the car as well. Very, very happy with that one. 37 car, Deng Yi will be behind the wheel to bring that one home. And Jesse Crone is going to pick himself up another podium. Driving alongside of Kevin Chen in the 91 car for Team AI. A strong season for all 3 of those cars and finishing on the podium as well. This is getting exciting heading into the final races of season 2, Dan.
Yeah, to think that we've got 3 more races for this championship, at least these categories here, I should say. So yeah, it says you got your GTM cars and Team AS Motorsport. Well, they've got 2 cars to celebrate with here in 2 different categories. So that's a job well done. But indeed, it'll make things a little interesting in the back half of the championship. Of course, second place for Sandy Civic here, they're going to be main forward with the F1 point scheme and use 18 points for them today. They'll jump up to sitting on 86 points. 25 machine. Huang Rohang will jump as a driver. He'll jump up from 46, therefore, to 71. So that'll be nice for him. Number 12 machine of Pity Bit on Back in Kentucky City. So they finished in 4th for that one there. So that's worth 12 points. So they'll go to 86, which, did I say that ties up with? Yeah, that ties up with Sandy Civic New Things. We're going to have a championship tie going into tomorrow's race. They
got the race win yesterday.
Oh yeah, no, my apologies. I haven't got the race 6 numbers. Confirm that one there. And by the sounds of it, we've got some footage coming in from the circuit. So let's listen in here. Some post-race interviews.
Keep up and up, and now here we are. The ring and the safety car saved us a little bit, but we're happy we can be here. But we should be way better because we are not the fastest car here. So let's see. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, that was the interviews with your race winner from race number 7 of your Thailand Supercar GT3, GTM, GT4, 25A car, taking out your race victory on track. The M-Class car punches above its weight and takes one here this weekend, Dan. Phenomenal racing action, surprises up and down the field, and some work to do for the B-Quik Absolute Racing outfit as well. 3 cars to repair overnight in a short turnaround.
Yeah, as you said, it's going to be a pretty crazy one there for them to get sorted. And we might also get some audio here from trackside with the Team AS Motorsport. Actually, I can hear in Thai, so we might leave that one go. Unfortunately, still got to add Thai to the lesson or the to-do list for language learning, I think, Scott. But yeah, as you said, we've got just 3 races left in the championship starting tomorrow, and the final race is in December at Chang. So that's going to be important to have a look at in due course. But as I said, we'll shake down all the points best we can going into tomorrow's race for race 8 of the championship to really sort of get on top of all that and sort of paint a clearer picture for that one there. But I mean, yeah, the other big thing, as you said, with that damage to the B-Quik Absolute Racing cars, of course, both the GT3 Audis and that GT4 Porsche, it's going to be a long night for them to be able to get back into tip-top shape for racing tomorrow.
Yep, a lot of work to do for a few teams up and down the pit lane. And celebrations begin for race winners for your Saturday racing action. Your Team AAS drivers celebrating GT4 class line honours as well. We'll see if we've got some interviews in English here from this one as well. and confirmation we don't. So that might just wrap us up here from this afternoon's coverage, ladies and gentlemen. With pleasure joining us for the exciting race number 7 under lights at the Sepang International Circuit. On behalf of the Thailand Super Series, on behalf of our series sponsors, B-Quik, Hankook Driving Emotions as well, EST Cole and Adamitsu. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll catch you tomorrow for racing action from 11:15 a.m. Malaysian time. See you all for more Thailand Super Series coverage then.